Silver's talking. I don't know if they're going to start
Yeah.
drafting anytime soon.
Hello and welcome to a new feature that we are doing here on Raptors Report. I am Julian, and this is the co-host to the brand new Raptors Report podcast. That's right. We are starting something new. We are really excited to bring you guys some new content, a new style. We're jumping on the bandwagon. We're doing what everybody's doing, which is starting a podcast. And this will be a new type of content. I'm not going to be stopping doing other types of content. This is just in addition to that. And I want to introduce the co-host to the Raptors Report podcast, and that is Steve, AKA Stevie, AKA at Raptors Shack. You might know him from Twitter, pretty big following. I like his takes, and now you get to enjoy his takes as well. Welcome and to the inaugural episode, Steve.
Thank you, Julian. Thanks for this. I think it's pretty cool. Something cool to start.
Yeah, so let me set the stage here. We are right now watching the NBA draft, and what that means is that we are going to be doing live commentary. We're going to be talking about the draft as it happens. We are actually watching the draft right now. And in fact, the Dallas Mavericks are on the clock. And we're going to be talking about the draft in general. We're going to be talking about what it means for the Raptors. We're going to be talking about some tweets and rumors and all of that stuff and giving you our thoughts as it happens, and hopefully enjoy that. So let's start off here. Obviously, they're going to take Cooper Flagg, so I don't even think we need to waste any breath.
Yeah, there's not a lot of analysis you have to really add to that.
No, we can talk about some of the rumors that the Toronto Raptors are involved with. So, I'm going to go through some of the rumors that I have seen involving the Raptors. We'll talk about what the Raptors need. So the Toronto Raptors depth chart, I'm going to attach a graphic to that. Essentially, the Toronto Raptors are very heavy on guards. They are pretty thin up front. And there have been a ton of rumors swirling around the Toronto Raptors. Notably, probably the name that has been attached to most of the trades and most of the things I've heard about, at least, is RJ Barrett. Yep. So if you're in the future right now, you will see if the Toronto Raptors trade RJ Barrett, whether they trade the first round pick. And that's a possibility. In fact, go ahead, Steve.
I feel like RJ's name has just been shopped for 12 months plus. Like not as soon as they got him, but they got him. He's played the best basketball of his career, but I don't think they ever fully welcomed him into the fold. Like there's been a lot of stuff they've done where, maybe they show, okay, this is our guys, and it's like Scotty and Quickly we're like, this is the future, and like, okay, or not promoting it for All-Star, right? Like they've always held him at almost an arm's reach, which is a bit weird for your only Toronto-born player, but
I also think that he was one of the guys that they were thinking about trading at the deadline.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason there wasn't a lot of all-star buzz and all-star push. I think that he was the guy that they might have been considering trading for Brandon Ingram. So it's not really a surprise that they continue to shop him. And I do like RJ Barrett. Don't get me wrong. I think that he is a good player. I think that he has done an amazing job recouping his value and rehabilitating his reputation around the league, because I think that he was seen as, we've all heard it at this point, the toxic asset label.
Exactly. Negative contract. Yeah.
And I think he's done a good job of shedding that. He had his best scoring year of his career. And so that is where he is right now. Okay, so it looks like that the pick is in for the Dallas Mavericks, and
they could do the funniest thing ever and not pick Cooper. That would be, because like they're already got pretty much rewarded for their incompetence of trading Luka, right? So
imagine Nico does that again and trades the first round pick. That would be great.
If he had a sense of humor, he would do that. It would lose him his job, but it would.
Well, I don't want to say lose him even more than that if he sticks around in Dallas, but it's probably going to be Cooper Flagg. But as I was saying, maybe we'll jump back to it when the pick actually comes in and when it's announced, but. So there's a couple of trades proposals that I've seen. One of them, Derek White, they said for the 9th overall pick. And I think the unnamed player that would be leaving in that would be RJ Barrett. They play the same position. And here's the thing about RJ Barrett. Yes, he had a good year, good season. I think that in terms of what he brings to the table, A lot of it is duplicative in that they have ball handlers. They have guys who they want to have the ball in their hands. Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, and now Brandon Ingram. And I think that having a complementary player, like a plus role player, like an off-ball player, that's why I think you've seen, so obviously Derek White, I've seen Cam Johnson, his name bandied about. I've seen the Trailblazers are apparently the favorites to land RJ Barrett. I've looked at what they have, and I'm not that impressed. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could happen. But...
Unless Masai Ujiri still wants Matisse Thybulle in his old age, would be crazy. But those Bovada, I think it's Bovada, whatever the odds makers are, I feel like those are just for clicks, because they're always just like, they put us as one of the top to get Sabonis and stuff too, and I don't know about that one. But like if you're looking at Derek White, if you're looking at Cam Johnson, the biggest thing that they both have over RJ is defense, right?
That's a big one. And I know that RJ has helped his reputation as a shooter. Mm-hmm. He is still very much a stationary catch and shoot player who shoots off of kickouts. Okay, they're making the pick right now. And Cooper Flagg. Wow. Big surprise. Okay, Cooper Flagg. And I think this is a good time to get off my chest. And I'm sure you have the feeling too, just like how sus this is. I'm not saying that it is, obviously, I don't fully believe it or anything like that, but trading Luka Doncic and then getting the first overall pick, it's a deal with the devil. That's what
I don't know if you noticed, but I crashed out pretty hard on the draft lottery night because I was like, oh my God, it's fixed 100%.
I know.
Because it all worked out. And I think I had joked maybe in January, like whenever after the Luka trade happened or something like that, I was like, why didn't they just, if they wanted to move Luka, why didn't they just hold on until after the draft lottery, and then they could just trade him for the number 1 pick and get Cooper Flagg? Well, they were able to just get that anyway. So
yeah, I know. And they traded him to the biggest market in the NBA. And wow, look at that. The LA Lakers got sold.
Yep.
Another wrinkle.
For a whole lot of money. Yeah.
Another wrinkle to the this saga.
There's more and more that you can keep unpacking too, of like, okay, well, their owners own casinos. There's like, oh, move it to Vegas, all this crazy stuff that people were rambling on about. But I think it's fun to entertain the idea that it's fixed, but there's a lot of ways that it could not be fixed. But
it's audited, and you just need one whistleblower to come out and spoil everything. I'd say it is. I would say that I believe in it more now than I ever have before, but it's still not, I wouldn't say it's likely, but it is so, God, like just, I mean, let's say it's not fixed. Let's say that, it's all just all above board. Yeah. Adam Silver was pissed that the Mavericks got the number 1 overall pick, because he would be like, well, I mean, that is definitely how it looks to a lot of people.
Dispel any of that. I think the best argument I saw against, okay, why would it be fixed, is that they still shot for the play-in, they still tried to win, and they were a couple points away from making the play-in or whatever, advancing in the play-in, whatever it was, and then they wouldn't have had those odds. They would have been out of the lottery, and they would have completely missed it. So for it to be completely fixed from the time of the trade, it's not exactly possible.
That's very true.
I think that how I've always kind of like jokingly approached it is that it's like, they won't let certain players go to certain markets, right? But they're like, but they let Zion go to New Orleans, but it's like, okay, but they traded Anthony Davis to the Lakers and they were rewarded with the number 1 pick. It all lines up.
Yeah, but what you say about how they were almost out of lottery position, that is a perfect counter argument, and that seals it. So there you go. I mean, the amazing analysis from Steve here. Okay, so Cooper Flagg has been picked. I think that there is some question marks about the next pick, and not whether they take Harper, because I think they will take Harper.
Yeah.
But it's whether they keep the pick or whether they trade him or trade back, because Harper is clearly, in my opinion, the best non-Cooper Flagg player in the draft. Sure. Yep. And he is a tier above the other players. Yep. Just watching how he plays, he is one of the best downhill drivers to the basket. He is an amazing playmaker. He has great touch. He's a creative finisher. He understands the game. He plays the right way. All of that kind of stuff. Everything that you're looking for. He's a good athlete. Yep. There's a lot of really good qualities about him. But are they going to keep the pick? And I'm just going to say it right now. I think they trade the pick or trade back in the draft.
Right.
I don't think they're keeping the pick and selecting Harper and then bringing him on the team and then having him play with De'Aaron Fox
Yeah, they
and
just got Fox.
Castle.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I think if you had one of those guys, you could trade or pick Harper and then try and make it work. But with both of them, and they're both kind of like blue chip guys, like they're all really promising prospects.
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's a lot of value to being able to move them, right?
Right.
Now, I mean, I've seen the argument made that it's like, okay, well, you could run Fox as the point guard, you could run Harper as the shooting guard, and you could run Castle as kind of a slightly undersized small forward.
Mm-hmm.
Castle can't really shoot that well, right? So I don't know how exactly that works. I mean, you've already got some stuff invested in him. It wouldn't be the worst thing for them to make the pick, because you can always make the pick, keep it, and then use that as part of a salary for a big thing. Like if they really are shooting for Giannis, the more salary that they have to put towards that is not bad, right? Because like they already have to assemble a lot. Like it's like you have to mix a bunch of contracts that Milwaukee doesn't really want to get that. So kind of adding the additional, whatever it is, like 8 mil, 9 mil, I don't know what it is now, but
it's getting big these days.
It's crazy,
it's
right?
crazy how much the top of the draft gets paid now. It used to.
So
yeah, go ahead.
He could eat 1/5 of Giannis's contract by doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised like if they make the pick. I don't think that disqualifies them from making a big move this summer with it, right?
No, that's good. That's spot on. That makes a lot of sense.
The pick is in for San Antonio.
Okay, so we'll see. I mean, I've seen people talk like the other thing against. I mean, they would have to take the only non-guard that is rumored to be in the top 5, and he has really slipped recently, is Ace Bailey. The rest, everybody else is either a guard or a small wing. And that is too, as I said, there's too much skill duplication there. Okay, so the pick is in. We'll be able to see if there is a trade. We can just going to pop around on the timeline. I'll keep Shams open just in the case there's any kind of trade going on here. Okay, Dylan Harper. There you go. Okay, so that makes sense.
He's a true lead guard, so it'll be interesting. I mean, maybe they don't intend to keep Fox.
That's another thing
for forever, right?
That's right. Yeah.
They can keep him for a year or two and still move him with value. They got him for actually relatively cheap comparatively for what you see. Like it's not like they traded 4 firsts or anything for him, right? The deal wasn't too crazy, so I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Maybe let him develop next to Fox, and then Dylan's perfectly on Wemby's timeline.
Yeah,
I don't think that's so bad.
And
then obviously you took the highest skill guy.
You took the highest upside guy. You took the guy with, I think, a high floor as well. I mean, the comparison I've made is Cade Cunningham, large, number 1 guy, with a lot of potential. And the issue is with their team is that I think it's just all about shooting. As you said, Stefan Castle cannot shoot yet. De'Aaron Fox can shoot a bit, but it's not a plus skill. Yeah. You would preferably like to add one more shooter in the backcourt. And Dylan Harper, for all of his skill, I would say is his skill that he needs to get better at. So again, I mean, I'm sure it could work, but when it comes to team building, when it comes to assembling a team, you have to move the pieces around so that they fit with one another. So if you have too much skill duplication, it makes sense just to shuffle the deck a little bit, try and get an equal but different player that fits a need a little bit more. So I would expect them to make a trade relatively soon. But as you said, it might, if they are really going for Giannis, it would make sense to keep his salary on the books. It
doesn't hurt to stack that up. And I mean, they can move Fox for in a Giannis deal. It doesn't seem like it would make the most sense because he's kind of the more developed guy, but they could still do it. And they still have, I believe, pick 14, right? So wewe'll see what they go with that. Yeah. They could end up taking a shooter there.
They traded the. I'm looking at what Shams has here. They actually traded the 38th pick in this draft for a future second. So they've removed a bunch of their.
The second round got a lot lighter with all the NIL returning guys, right?
A lot of people went back to college.
A lot of people pulled out. So like the Raptors having a pick at 39, I expect that they're going to try to make some moves away from that because 39, you're not getting much value. You need to crack into the top 30 to get certain guys that maybe would have fallen to you before. Like I think before all the returnees, you looked at, okay, maybe you could get like a big like Ryan Kalkbrenner or Hanson Yang, but now those guys are going.
Yeah, they're going a lot higher.
Top 30, right? Like, Oh, it's Ron Harper Jr., former Raptor.
I know. Yeah, that's one of the things is that he had a cup of coffee with the Raptors. He's bounced around. His dad, obviously being the Chicago Bull, won a championship with Michael Jordan, really good role player. And no surprise, I mean, it's becoming more and more kind of a Nepo baby league.
Exactly, right.
A lot of guys.
They got the right genes and they get all the right training. And,
there's the genes, but a lot of it is being in the basketball scene and being around and given access to training and, opportunities. I think a lot of it is just like being able to work on your game, from being a very young kid and being around that culture. Okay.
Like Steph was always on the court.
Exactly. So the 76ers are up next. This one is interesting because
very interesting.
I don't really know what they're going to do. Ace Bailey could go here.
He doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to go there.
Yeah,
I think his team already basically said, nope, not me. I think he's already told Utah. He's already told Charlotte. And I think he was just seen because he threw out a pitch at a baseball game and he was telling them to like stop chanting or something with the Sixers. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to go to Washington. He wants to go to Brooklyn. He wants to be the guy, right?
Yeah.
And whose dad, like Sharif Cooper's dad or somebody is his agent, somebody who didn't work out in the league, right? Like, so you wonder what kind of guidance he's getting. But I think when you look at, if you're looking, like you could sort by teams who already have max contract guys, and would be the teams that he's rolled out. So he wants to have the opportunity to hit that big max. If you're already on a team with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, you might not get that full max. Yeah. So I think it's just a long play for the money, which seems a bit crazy when that's like 3 years away.
It's true. That still doesn't take him out of the running. I think that if Daryl Morey thinks that he's, the best pick there, he is certainly the best fit because they have a lot of guards.
Yep.
The Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, even the guy,
Quinn Grimes, if they keep him, yeah.
Hey,
he was cooking at the end of the
he
year.
was really good at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so they don't need another guard. But my guy here, and I have to give myself credit here. I'll give myself a pat on the back because I was a VJ Edgecombe guy very early on. And I was like, this guy's got explosive NBA athleticism. He's the best value at this pick.
Yeah.
Ace Bailey, in my opinion, would be a better fit.
Yeah.
Okay. So
pick is in.
Yeah, pick is in.
I do think you're right. I think they go with VJ because I think they said they had a really good meeting with him. I think they met with him multiple times. I think they spoke very highly of him. So I think culture fit wise, and Maxey and McCain as a backcourt.
Yeah,
the defense is not
going
there.
To stink. Yeah,
exactly. They're going to shoot the hell out of the ball, everything, but they do need a guy like VJ.
Yeah, and his on-ball creation took a big leap as the year continued.
Yeah.
He started off as, I think people were disappointed because he was a guy that had a lot of hype around him at the beginning of the year, but he was not being featured as much. And then toward the end of the season, he started getting more reps and people started to see what he could do. And I think he has a super high upside, especially with just his defensive ability and the athleticism is for real. This guy can jump out of the gym. Okay, so the selection is coming up. VJ Edgecombe.
VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
It's a great pick for them.
Yeah, he's a guy I've really liked. I think that he has a ton of potential. And it's not a perfect fit in Philly. And in fact, I could see, they've got kind of a bunch of guards, and whenever that happens, whenever there's a logjam, you assume they're going to move off of one of them, and it doesn't have to be VJ. They could. I was thinking they could trade back, or make the pick for some other team. It could just be that maybe Jared McCain is out. I know that they're super high on Maxey. They love him in that organization. Jared McCain had an amazing start to the season.
Yep.
But they have not been hyping him up as much as I think that he deserves. So.
Yeah, he had that injury. I don't know how much that is going to sideline. The other thing, though, is that, I think he was he the 15th pick or the 16th pick? His salary is not that high. So to keep him and have him come off the bench is not the worst thing in the world either.
That's a possibility as well, yeah. And everybody else there is expendable. Like even Joel Embiid at this point in his career, I think they're looking past him. I don't think that he features too prominently in their future. Yeah. I think that the next generation of stars is set to emerge there. Yeah. I actually I don't like Philly very much, and the rivalry between the fan bases was toxic when that series was happening. And obviously the whole Nick Nurse saga. Okay, so here's one thing that you may not know, but there's some lore behind the Nick Nurse. I don't know how well versed you are in this, but the exact moment when he had a press conference and apropos of nothing, like they were talking about something completely unrelated, he said, maybe I'm not here next year.
Yeah.
Maybe that was people were like,
wasn't it?
What?
Yeah.
It was right after they were in Philadelphia. So, and then he goes and works there the next year. Like, this is not, unlike the conspiracy theory involving the draft, it's not a big conspiracy to imagine him having dinner with Daryl Morey and him being like, listen, you got to get out of there. Yeah. Toronto's going nowhere. We've got Joel Embiid, come and coach us next season. And then the next day he goes into work and, maybe he's a little less, he just volunteered information saying, hey, maybe I'm not here next year. Yep. Very, very suspicious.
And so and because he was kind of sitting in that lame duck where he didn't have that full contract and everything, right? So that makes a lot of sense. I don't put it past Daryl Morey, that's for sure.
No, I don't put it past Nick Nurse either. The guy the guy gave, he helped the Toronto Raptors win their first and only championship. Yep. And as a result, I won't speak too negatively about him, but the guy is kind of a little bit of a double dealer. He's not all above board. You can tell there are machinations going on there with that guy.
I don't know if you've ever seen, I think Raptors Moments posted it, where it's like he's posing a picture and he's leaning on a book that has like 48 laws of power.
Yeah.
If you know anything about that book, it's like, that's manipulation. Like that is crazy.
It's like the Sun Tzu / Machiavellian rules of power.
Exactly. Of like, hate the things you can't have, like all this stuff. And it's like, all right, Nick.
Yeah, we see what's going on there. Okay, so next up, now that VJ is off the board, it's kind of, there's a lot of different prospects in my estimation that could go to Charlotte. Trey Johnson, Fears, although probably not Fears just because of LaMelo. Yeah. They could go with a big. They could go with Malawach.
Yep.
They could go with Khan
for that. I think my favorite player in that range is Trey Johnson. Yeah. But I think the player that they should take is Continental.
That makes a lot of sense.
A damn good basketball player.
Yeah.
And I think that they need some more serious, just good basketball players.
Yeah. He is, jack of all trades, master of one shooting. Yeah. But he is a really good shooter. He kind of does what you need, and he puts in a lot of effort. I don't know how high his ceiling is. That's certainly the downside with him, is that he can't jump over a phone book.
But he did jump higher than Cooper Flagg.
Oh, really? At the combine?
At the combine,
that's also fake
in a lot of ways. But I think Cooper didn't try very hard.
Yeah, no.
Because his times and everything were not that. Because why would he have to try, right? No. But I do think I think he might get that sneaky athletic thing that white guys get sometimes, but he's built more like a fridge kind of guy. They already tried to make that deal for Dalton Connect before.
Right. That's a good point with Mark Williams.
Exactly. What they would get for Continental is kind of like
a way better Dalton Connect. Right? Younger, better defender, better playmaker.
So I think they've recognized that need for that kind of player.
That is a really good point.
I would not be shocked, but Trey Johnson's one of the best shooters in the draft.
That's right.
One of the best scorers in the draft. Would be an awesome pick for that. He's very
higher upside too.
Exactly. He's the buzz that Ace Bailey has for tough shot making. Trey Johnson should have as well. He just doesn't take as ridiculous of shots, but he's a shot maker. He's and a better playmaker. Like he's not like people compare him, like the lazy comparison is Cam Thomas because he's a bucket getter. Yeah, but he's actually a playmaker, a passer, a bit.
I really like him too. Yeah. And he can play the off-ball spot, which is like another reason. Like him and Khan, those two guys, you can play them off the ball, and they're going to get good shots from LaMelo. Okay, sorry. Yeah. You'll learn something about me is that through my clever editing on YouTube, whenever I forget a player's name, you don't see that. You don't see that part. But it's my problem in real life too. I'm always forgetting people's names. Okay, so the pick is in, and we get to see. But I think those two players probably, or they go with the big. They go with
they could surprise us and just go with Malawach because they've already decided Mark Williams isn't the guy.
That's right.
That's an upgrade over Mark Williams. It's a similar big guy with a lot of upside.
And I like that fit in terms of, because imagine that pick and roll. Like that is LaMelo and Malawach would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Just because Malawach that was his plus skill is lob catching.
Yeah.
And it would fast track his development. You could get way more minutes with him on the floor if you put him next to a guy that just makes that happen over and over and over again. Exactly. And then he can learn on the fly. Right, exactly. Yeah. So, and also with two guys, like Brandon Miller is a decent defender. And I think when he fully matures, he'll be a good defender. Yeah. But I think that next to LaMelo, that's always going to be something that you want. Okay, so here's the pick. Let's see.
They took Con
Knippel. Okay. So, that is a good pick.
It's, you know what, it's a mature pick for the Charlotte Hornets.
It definitely is.
You would think like maybe years ago, the most Charlotte Hornets pick would just, we'll swing on Ace Bailey and go for that. And that obviously wouldn't have been the best fit there. Yeah.
I like that pick for them. I think that it's as you said, it brings a guy into the locker room. He's easy to coach. I think that this is like a huge win for him. Yeah. And he had to take a back seat to Cooper Flagg for the majority of this season, except in certain instances where he, in that one tournament where he got to be the number one guy. But he had to kind of sacrifice in order to be on that Duke team. Lots of mouths to feed, not just the starting guys. There's a couple of guys off the bench and
Proctor had a lot of usage.
Tyrese Proctor and let's just say there's a lot of players on that team that needed or wanted the ball, so he had to play a secondary role. But the guy can hoop, so I'm pretty. I like that fit for him, and he's going to help them. I think the problem though, low ceiling. Yeah, the guy is not. I don't think he'll ever make an all-star team. I think if he maxes out his potential, the comp that I had was Devin Booker. And Devin Booker, not a superstar athlete. Yeah. His plus skill is shooting. Yeah. There's a bit of playmaking there as well, but definitely an off-ball player. Yeah. And just depending on how his trajectory goes and whether he really reaches his full potential, maybe that's a comp that I could see. But I think, John Shire did a good job with Duke and making sure that everybody got a chance to shine and look good. I mean, like, you have 3 lottery picks on the same team. That's amazing recruiting, number one.
Very much so.
And number 2, putting them in an opportunity to show what they can do. Like, he was able to do both of those things. So fantastic job by him. And congrats to Con Knippel. If you told me even a month ago, Con Knippel's going top 5, I would have said, you're smoking crack. There's
for real. No, exactly.
There's no way this guy is going top 5. But the more it approached and the more buzz that came up out of it, I think a lot of people talked themselves into it.
A lot of people just had to watch more tape and go, okay, hold on. Okay, ignore the weird name. Okay. Yeah.
The funny thing, there was I read his Wikipedia page and I really liked the little thing that they did on his dad, who was apparently part of a men's 3-on-3 team with his brothers. They called them the Flying Knippel Brothers. And I was like, that is just how does that even happen? Yeah.
And it just showed like his whole family and his like 5 brothers, and they're all K names like Cash, Kroger.
Yeah, just as long as their middle name doesn't start with a K.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that like what I said about him is that if his face looked like Cooper Flagg's face, people would be saying, "Oh yeah, this guy's a killer."
Honestly, it's so true.
He looks too friendly. He looks like a guy who's going to help you with your homework or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He's too nice looking. He doesn't look like a baller, but he can play. So good for him. Yeah. And
Utah pick is in.
Oh yeah, the Utah pick. Let's talk about who they're going to pick. Trey Johnson, maybe.
Trey Johnson.
I think Fears. It could also be Fears.
It could be.
I don't think they go with another big.
They've drafted several guards over the years, but usually later. Like, I've been pretty critical of Utah's rebuild because they kept getting 10th pick, 8th pick, and then they would pick Cody Williams. Yeah. Mistake of a draft pick, but they've fired a lot of those members of their draft team.
Like their scouts.
They've reset those scouts, right? So I think they need a bucket getter. They need a guy like Trey Johnson. I don't think they can go wrong with that. Fears would be great, lead guard. But then, like, what do you do with Isaiah Collier, who I don't know. Like
your Canadianness is showing through because you're pronouncing it like the way that probably the ancestors of that name pronounced it. But in America, you got to pronounce all of your consonants. So Collier. So Collier. But here's the thing: is that none of their guards are good enough to say I'm going to pass on a guy who's got it. And
it's true.
I think fears he could be there. I don't think they're taking Malawatch.
No, yeah. They've been trying to move Walker Kessler for forever, but they don't need a big. They picked Ace Bailey.
Oh, wow.
He didn't even. Did he say he didn't want to go there? No, I don't think he said he didn't want to go there.
There were rumors, It was he did not want to go to Utah.
Okay.
But he should thank his lucky stars that he didn't drop out of the top 10.
Yeah.
Because the guy was his agent was going crazy, talking nuts.
Yeah.
And so the Jazz go with a boomer bust guy here, which I think is fine. I mean, if you are in the beginning of a rebuild, which honestly, let's be honest, they are not even close to exiting the rebuild.
Exactly. They're a couple years in, but they're still on their way out. They're still in. Let's just try to get as much talent in the door. So I get a high talent guy. Ultimately, I like the pick. I guess I was just surprised because I did expect him to continue sliding for a bit.
Yeah, I thought so too. I get it. And at the same time, I think that he needs, no matter what his agents and what he thinks he needs, I think he needs to learn how to play basketball.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's going to learn how to do that in a rebuilding atmosphere. And I
think he's going to get all the shots he wants. You know, the one thing I was actually excited about, because I was like, okay, so if he goes to Washington, what they did was like Chris Middleton just picked up his option.
They got some vets there.
And if there's a guy that I wanted, like I originally thought the best person that he could learn from would be somebody like Brandon Ingram, because I think Brandon Ingram is his 80th to 90th percentile outcome.
Yeah,
right? I don't think of him as necessarily Durant, right?
No,
I think of
he's
him
too
as
small for that.
Yeah, right. So a guy like that, great to be under your wing. But I don't think it's too bad to be under a guy like Chris Middleton. I think you can learn a lot from him. But who does the Jazz have like that?
They've got Lowry Markkanen. They've got Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
The sixth man
John Collins,
Clarkson.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Middleton, Smart, Olynyk, they know how to play, right? And they were at one point, cogs in either championship level teams or close to it. So I don't love this fit for either side. And I get it. He plays a position where they're weak, which is a large wing. They've got Lowry Markkanen, who is similar, like he's a power forward, right?
And he's very much off ball. He's very much catch and shoot. I think somebody like, personally, I think Lowry's pretty overrated. I think if you're a 6'11" guy, you don't really rebound. He's never averaged over 2 rebounds a game or 2 assists per game.
Yeah.
He's an off ball player, which is great, but I wouldn't pay $50 million a year for it. But I think that they can play next to each other. I think that fit would be fine. You run Ace at the 3 and you have Lowry play the 4. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Also, who's going to be making him better? Like if you have an on-ball or off-ball large wing, that guy, let's be honest, the NBA is so different than college. Your moves are not going to work right off the bat. It's better if you have somebody who can set the table for you. And
Collier can pass.
He can
passed
pass
John Stockton's assist record, but he also had like the highest turnover percentage in the league.
I'm not a huge fan of Collier.
No, he also had one of the lowest true shooting percentages in the league. Like I think he's. Yeah. I don't see him as a lead guard. I don't see him as continuing forward as a lead guard, right? So it's a good point. Who's setting the table for him?
And is he going to be able to? The other thing that where I see his ceiling being very high is his defense. I think if he commits to defense and if he is coached up and put in positions and earns playing time by being able to play defense, he can be a valuable player.
Yeah.
But if he's just getting trotted out there every game, rain or shine, good or bad, the guy is not, maybe he doesn't get that fire lit underneath him. Like,
Jason, some bad habits easily.
I know that Jason Tatum and Kawhi Leonard, like they came into the league with that defensive reputation and the coachable reputation, and they still had to earn their minutes. They still had to like put in their dues. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're going to be able to, develop him the right way. I think that he needs more structure.
Yeah.
Just judging by, I've seen this story play out many times in the past where a guy does not hit his ceiling because he's not in the right environment. And is Utah going to be the right environment for him? I don't know. So who's up on the board here?
Washington is up, and I think that since Ace has already gone, I think this is Fears.
Yeah, it could definitely be Fears. They've got Bub Carrington, who I like a lot.
I really like as well. Exactly. Yeah. I was hoping for him at the 19th spot for the Raptors last year, but they made some moves. They moved Denny Avdia, and they're obviously very high on him to move Denny for that. So yeah, I think Bub will continue to develop and could.
I think you can play them with one another though, because Bub is a larger guard.
Yeah.
And Fears, I think when he wasn't like an amazing shooter last year, but I think that his upside as a shooter is pretty good. So I think that that's a pretty decent bet.
Yeah.
I don't think that they go with Malawach. I know that there are a lot of people. Sar, and I did a whole thing on Jonathan Gavoni's, him and Jeremy Wu did a fit versus, value pick.
Right.
And they went back and forth. They each did a different draft. And he said that Malawach would be a good fit next to Sar. And I was like, no.
No, I think that like somebody like Queen is a good fit next to Sar.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I don't think Malawach is, because Sar did pretty decent defensively, but he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
He similar to Collier, he had one of the worst true shooting percentages in the league. He's a 7-footer.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty crazy to me. That's kind of a clogged front court, if anything. So yeah, I don't see Malawach there. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think that he said like a Twin Towers setup or whatever. I'm like, you gotta, I think for Sar to reach his upside, I think he's got to play as a center.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think you want him faffing about at the power forward spot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there are other guys, like the comparison I made was Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Where Brook Lopez, when he started his career, he wasn't a great rebounder. He was
not really
kind of a skill player. Yeah. So, okay, let's see what it is.
Trey Johnson. Oh, I forgot he was still on the board. Of course. That's a good pick.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Trey Johnson. Okay, so they go with the off-ball guard. That makes sense. We were talking about Fears, but
I think he instantly becomes their best scorer. They moved Poole.
That's right. That was the real thing, and that was the reason why I think like that they might have read the tea leaves and known that Trey Johnson was going to be there for them at the 6th spot, and they just got off of Poole's contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Trey Johnson, I like Trey Johnson. As you said, he's like a really good shot maker. And I think that in terms of assembling a team and creating the core, like the nucleus for a team moving forward, if you believe in Sar at all, you're going to want to have shooting around him. And having an off-ball player, if you really believe in Bub Carrington, those two are, this is a great complementary pick. And I think it's in the right range too. So I do like this pick. It might be talent-wise. What were you going to say? Sorry.
So my dog's barking. Just give me a second.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
You can keep going on.
Yeah. Let me take over. I'll cook here for a second. In terms of skill, I don't necessarily think that he's like a superstar in the making. I do think that he has relatively high upside. Anytime a player can shoot the ball like he can and come off of screens and nail shots, you can give him the ball and he can score high degree of difficulty shots. You're going to have a decently high upside, but I don't necessarily think he's going to get there. I don't think that is, he's going to be a guy that is an all-star in his career, but we'll have to see. I think that it's a good pick. I don't mind the pick. I don't know if 6, like him and Con Knipple, I don't know if they are going to, like, they're going to live up to that billing, like a number 4 overall pick, a number 6 overall pick. I think they're going to be solid players in the league, and I think that they have a skill set for the NBA, although I don't know if they are like star potential players. So it'll be interesting to see how he and Bub Carrington complement one another.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely get the touches. Like, it's great. I think obviously that's why Ace Bailey probably wanted to go there, because he will get the usage. He'll probably get 17, 18 shots a game. And if he can continue shooting like he is, I mean, he'll have a chance to make a run at Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah.
So I think it works out for Washington. They still have a lot of holes to keep filling. I think they're going to continue tanking. I think, next year's draft is great. So decent value at this spot. But like you're saying, yeah, it might not, ultimately when you look back, it might not.
He might be an also ran. Like a guy who, is fine.
Yeah.
But there is going to be some players after him that are going to end up having better careers.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the Raptors. So there's no real surprises. There's no slides that I'm seeing where I'm like, oh boy, I can't believe that this player's still on the board. Could the Raptors still draft him? Everything is kind of going the way that most people thought. Like even Ace Bailey, people thought maybe he would slide. He didn't.
Yep.
And next up on the board is Brooklyn Nets. Oh, sorry, excuse me, the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And the Pelicans are interesting because they have holes at 2 of the spots that are still, like, there's still good prospects at both.
Yeah.
So do they want a big? Because they've got Yves Missy, who had a decent rookie campaign, I would say.
Yep.
And then they don't really have anybody at the point guard position.
Apart from Jordan Poole, who this trade.
Oh, my God. How could I forget?
Depends on how high you are. Now they've got DeJounte recovering from his injury. So he's gone for the year, probably most of it.
Yeah, I don't even figure him into the math because I'm not a fan of him at all. But I totally forgot about Poole because, that just happened.
That just happened, right? So when they made that trade, I got excited because I was like, if they're high on Poole, maybe that means that they are taking it big. And maybe that means that Fears could continue dropping.
Right.
But I don't see Fears really dropping past Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like if I were to get excited for it for Toronto, I don't see him really passing Brooklyn.
No, because Cam Thomas, like, yes, he likes to dominate the ball, but he is a scoring guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Fears is a point guard. Like, yes, he's also more of a scoring guard too, but you would want, like, I could see those two being in a backcourt, although the problem would be the defense. Like, they're both smaller guards. Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, Common Malawach is the probable pick now that they've gotten Jordan Poole, but they could go off the board. They could go with Derek Queen.
Yep, they could.
They could. But I mean, if they're committing to Zion, you're going to want defense, right?
Yeah.
Derek Queen is not exactly the guy that springs to mind when like you'd have 2 large bodies.
Yeah. They get some funny nicknames out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And for Derek Queen's sake, I hope he stays away from the food in New Orleans because I think that's been part of their problem.
That is a very good point. So yeah, expecting Common Malawach, but who knows? Maybe they Collin Murray-Boyles. I could see them going with Collin Murray-Boyles. I like him. But the pick is in. Malawach is a guy I would like on the Toronto Raptors, so be kind of disappointing if he went off the board.
They went Fears.
They went with Fears. Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so I predicted that, but when you said Jordan Poole, I was like, okay, well, maybe they won't pick him up.
Yeah. I don't think Poole should honestly stop you from drafting the point guard that you want, honestly. Right?
Poole is like, I see him maybe as a 6th man type.
He was great as a 6th man on the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That was great. And then they let him run his own team, and the ESPN guys went crazy. They're like, oh, he might get 30 points a game just because blah, blah. No, didn't even come close.
With that said, he did an okay job of redeeming himself. It seems like Kuzma was the issue with that Washington team because the vibes immediately improved. Improved after Kuzma left. And Jordan Poole actually looked like a competent NBA player, which is why I think they were able to get off his contract. Yeah. But Fears was the guy I expected them to pick prior to this, just because he is a point guard that I think you would want next to a guy like Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
And if Poole is the guy that they start, Jeremiah Fears can come off of the bench and, play a substantial role for them.
He's got so much time. He's 18.
Yeah, and they've got Herb and they've got a bunch of exciting young players that he will be able to play next to.
Exactly. Like I saw a lot of people being like, oh, he's small, he won't be ready, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he's 18. If it takes him 4 years to get ready and he starts at 22 years old.
Yeah. If you've got the runway,
yeah,
just give it a shot. I think that in terms of upside, he has one of the highest upsides in the draft. As a guy who can create his own shot, like in the tournament, and leading up to it, there were some games where it was just, he took over. He just completely took over the game and sort of willed his team, if not to victory, to a really, he impressed me is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And I don't mind this pick at all. I actually kind of like it for them.
Yeah.
So Malawach is still on the board. And I'm going to say right now, I don't think Brooklyn goes for Malawach.
I don't think so either. So Malawach might be available for the Raptors.
He could be. And that was, Malawach has been the guy who the Raptors have been attached to. Just all the pundits have been talking about him with the Toronto Raptors for a long time now. So that would kind of make sense. But Brooklyn, I feel like Brooklyn is in a mode where they have all these picks. And I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger this offseason. I think maybe they might keep their powder dry until maybe a big name, maybe a non-Giannis name emerges, and they have some guys to put around him. Because right now it's the cupboard is almost completely bare. They've got Cam Thomas, and they've got the other Cam Johnson, but they don't really have a guy that you would feel comfortable putting next to a superstar player. You don't have the framework to bring that guy in. So what I'm thinking they're going to do is I think they're going to go with Derek Queen.
Okay.
Because he can get buckets. The guy can get buckets. The runway will be clear. Mm-hmm. He will just be able, you're going to get him to go out there every game, and he will just be able to put up stats. And he is a guy, I'm not a big fan of his for the Raptors because of, I just don't like centers. And I think he is a center that don't play defense. Yeah.
And I think he, size-wise, almost has to be a 4 at that point.
Yeah.
And so if you should be a center, but you're kind of forced into be a 4, especially with the Raptors, then you're a backup 4, which should be great on the bench, but
that's not what you want with that pick.
Yeah, I think I like him for Brooklyn. It gives them a different kind of offensive hub,
right? And a guy in the front court that can cook. They don't have that. I think plugging Malawach into Brooklyn, I think his bust potential goes way up.
For sure,
because he's gonna be kind of naked out there. There's not gonna be a guy remember how I was saying LaMelo would be a great guy to have next to him because he's gonna feed him. He's gonna be able to eat off of those lobs. Who's gonna do that with Brooklyn?
Yeah,
Cam Thomas isn't doing that.
He's gonna be responsible for everything on defense.
Right. Yeah, and that might be too much for him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't like that. I don't like Malawach, probably the best value pick, but I just don't like that fit for him. Yeah. I think Queen, when there's just nobody in the front court who's going to be taking touches away from him, he's going to be able to go nuts and he might win Rookie of the Year, even though I'm not his biggest fan. Yeah. So we'll see. They still have Nick Claxton. I don't think they should be making any decisions based on Nick Claxton. I thought that Nick Claxton, was going to be a lot better than he has been. He's kind of been disappointing to me, at least.
Yep, and I think the idea of Nick Claxton is better than what Nick Claxton is now. I think their time to move him was maybe a year or two ago when there was still some kind of mystique and some upside. And he's had some the one game against the Raptors where he just randomly crashed out, threw a chair pad on the floor. I don't know what I remember. And he seems like he has some motor issues. When he's locked in, I remember a couple of years ago, he demolished the Raptors. Yeah.
But that was that was pre-Pirtle when they were playing without a center. And so he kind of went nuts.
Yeah. Okay, so
the pick is in.
And I got it spoiled 1 second before it, but I'll wait.
Okay.
Pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah.
But I do see a chance for them with their picks trading Claxton to Phoenix. If they can trick Phoenix that Claxton could be their center of the future. If they could package 19 and 24, whatever it is, and Claxton for 10, because Phoenix has 10 now. I could see that happening.
All right. Okay, so the pick is in. Okay, why don't you just tell me, because I'm looking at the broadcast here.
Yegor Demin.
Egor Demin. I actually liked Egor Demin in terms of like at 9, maybe when more players were off of the board.
Yeah, I feel like they could have traded back if they really wanted him, but they seemed really excited in their little war room. I think they just like him.
Yeah. Here's the thing is that I think Demin has one of the highest upsides in the draft.
Yeah.
I was not high on him until I got to watch him more, especially in the tournament. In the tournament, he had a bunch of really good games. And he's not a stats guy. Like if you are just reading the stat sheet, you maybe come away a little unimpressed. But he's huge. Yeah. People don't get like how big this guy is. Yeah. Like he is like 6'10".
He's like Franz Wagner size.
Yeah.
With a bit more passing.
Yeah. He's more of like, people compared him to Josh Giddey, which and on the court, Josh Giddey on the court. But that would be considered an insult like a year ago. But he's also kind of rehabilitated his on-court.
Yeah, he had a great second half of the season with Chicago there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the kind of very large guard who isn't a very good shooter. Yeah. That is, it's an intriguing value proposition.
But he can be their table setter going forward. I think he would work well with Cam Thomas if they're keeping Cam Thomas.
Right.
Who can provide some of the shooting. Okay. It's interesting. It feels like a reach, but I think it kind of works for them.
It is a reach, but, you know, I don't think it's preposterous. So, well, I mean, guess who's still on the board for the Toronto Raptors?
There's so many options at this point. But
Collin Murray-Boyles, Noah Senge, Collin Murray-Boyles. I'd be happy with all those. Carter Bryant. I'd be happy with a lot of picks here. So we'll have to see. Oh boy.
If you were to go off of what they said about maybe we wouldn't take a center and expect him, whatever, but they just throw smoke screens out like crazy. So, and maybe they're not expecting Common to be around.
It's true. It could be that they didn't expect Common to drop to them. And also the thing about Collin Murray-Boyles and why I kind of like him at this pick is that they have Yak, and Yak is a starting caliber center. You don't have to have Collin Murray-Boyles come and start for you. You don't need to do that. You can bring him off the bench and he can learn. Yeah. And the Toronto Raptors have always done that with their prospects. Very few, only like Scotty Barnes in recent memory, have started and been expected to be a star from day one. All of the other guys were brought along. Yeah, and so I would like that. Collin Murray-Boyles, I would say number one. CMB, Collin Murray-Boyles, I would say is my number 2. And then probably, I like Noah Senge. I like...
I think there's a lot of upside there. Very young.
Collin Murray-Boyles falling down, kind of an interesting storyline here. He was
getting mocked as,
he had a horrible tournament, maybe just the last game of the tournament. The other games he was okay. Providing, rim protection and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so Collin Murray-Boyles had a really bad end to his college career. Yeah. That last game, he was a ghost. Yeah. And it's really his first year of playing like high-level competitive basketball. Like he did play in the Olympics a little bit, and he did play in Basketball Africa. But the thing is that this is all very new to him. And I think that we should give a little grace. Yeah. And the other thing is that he is like a freak of nature. Like he is absolutely massive. So I'm just, I'm okay with picking him. And I think that it's going to be hard to turn down Murray-Boyles at this pick.
They went to the last 10 seconds to make the pick, which I don't know if that necessarily means they were taking calls for trade backs, but that's kind of what makes you think, or at least they were maybe arguing.
That's
sometimes
interesting.
They go along, but I've seen it tick down, and I'm like,
that is crazy. So we'll have to the Raptors. Raptors pick is in. So very excited here to see who the Toronto Raptors decide to go with.
Just go completely off board and go like Joanne Berenger.
Oh God, please don't ruin this. Oh man. Don't worry. It's just the future of the franchise is hanging in the balance here. There's no reason to be too dramatic about it. Okay.
Collin Murray-Boyles looks emotional. I don't know why.
Collin Murray-Boyles.
He just looks nervous. Okay. At first it looked like he was emotional, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. So any of those three, Noah Essengay, Common Malawach, Collin Murray-Boyles, I'd be fine with any of those guys.
Yeah.
Who do I not want them to take? I don't want them to take Derek Queen.
No, I definitely not at 9. I think he is sliding. You know what? For a while I was like, please nobody mock Casper Jonas to us. But the more I watched the tape, I was like, okay, you know what? He's a good table sitter. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I came around on him, which I think a lot of people did.
Kasparis would be like a bench guard with this current team.
Yeah.
And they'd probably have to make some room because they have a lot of guys who are in that. Okay, so here we go. Pick is in. Adam Silver. Give me some good news here. Oh!
What a pick. That's
Collin Murray-Boyles. Hell yeah.
That's good.
This is the guy that I have been singing the praises of for a very long time.
Yeah.
You can go back and look on Twitter. Just search the name. I have been hyping this guy up, saying that he is the dude.
And if you go through the big boards of the guys who are really locked in, like real draft sickos, they've got him in that second tier. They've got him in the top 5. They got him top 4. That's I think some people were worried because they were like, oh, he's a do everything guy. What is he, just a shorter Scotty Barnes? It's like, what, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, exactly.
How is that a bad thing?
Oh no, we've got two like really valuable forward slash centers.
Yeah. So that answers the question of if they're going to trade, at least for now, because you can always trade the person you pick, but I think they like him. And congratulations, Bobby Webster. Good smokescreen.
I love this pick. I love this pick.
Oh, that's great.
I am just very, very pleased. I think that he is a guy that can do a lot. He has so many different skills. He is a great scorer, great passer, really good defender. He knows how to play. Okay. Yeah. He really knows how to play, and he's got great touch. And he is a player that I think gets it and is going to make a difference. So I'm very happy with this. Yeah.
If there's one thing, like a lot of people stressing out, okay, what's it going to be? I'm like, if there's one thing I can trust the Raptors to do, it is to draft in the lottery and to draft successfully in the right player. And I think they've done that. That is great.
Sorry to everybody who's watching the podcast right now, and maybe even Steve. I'm just celebrating on Twitter right now. I'm just posting some stuff here, so you'll have to excuse me because we are doing this live. We have to react to what the Toronto Raptors are doing. I am really hyped up here. I'm so happy. Okay, amazing.
That's great. And then you can tell the people that are not locked in who are saying, what the hell?
Yeah.
Who the heck is this? Because they've just been looking at, common, whatever, but like, the kind of reported interest.
People are saying that his reaction was that he shook his head and said the F word.
No way.
Yeah. He'll learn to love it here.
I they try to read into a lot of that, and it might not be exactly what they think that is.
Yeah. So they're just interviewing him. And is that who is that standing next to him? Is that his dad? No, there's no way. That just must be his teammate. There's his girlfriend and I guess his agent. I am so let's talk about Collin Murray-Boyles, because like this is kind of what this whole podcast is about. Like it's been leading up to this moment. And of course, like we're going to be talking if there's any trades or anything that come after this. I think they're going to keep the pick. That's what Jonathan Givony is saying. Jonathan Givony says the Raptors are keeping Collin Murray-Boyles, a source told ESPN, despite considerable interest from teams trying to trade up for the pick. Hello, why do you think that's the case? This was a smokescreen. This guy knows how to play. This guy really, 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 really knows how to play. When you watch him on both ends of the court, he knows where he is supposed to be, especially on defense. So he's a good perimeter defender. He can move his feet. He's got active hands. He can pick guys up on the perimeter. And he's also good at protecting the basket as well. Maybe not top in the class because he's a little small, but he knows how to, he wants to help out around the basket. He's a good rebounder. He can handle the ball. He has amazing touch. He's one of the best finishers in college basketball. And he's a great playmaker. He just, like, if you watch the tape, the guy is a pro. He is going to be in the league for a very long time. And I think, like, here's the thing, is that where does he play? That would be the main concern I think a lot of people would have with Collin Murray-Boyles is, like, he can't shoot. Okay, that's a problem. And he's a little on the small side. I think he is like kind of like how Draymond Green can play center in certain lineups. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that he's going to come off of the bench for the Toronto Raptors as a backup 5 for the time being. In the long term, I think he can play small ball C. And I think people are going to be very pleasantly surprised about what he does on the court, which is a ton. All of the stuff that isn't shooting, the guy is doing. And he's a good rebounder. He's like, he is just a really, really solid player. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm dominating the conversation.
No, it's okay. I just, I got to run my dogs out. They're barking. So I just got to jump out.
Okay. So, sorry, small break there. Steve had to run his dogs, and we were just both very overcome by the Collin Murray-Boyles pick. So, mini celebration. But so yeah, Cedric Howard apparently picked by the Trailblazers, immediately traded to the Grizzlies, and Kamen Malawach was selected by the Phoenix Suns. And I really don't like that pick for them, and I really don't like that pick for him. I think that he is just he needs the right environment to go to in order to reach his potential. Obviously, the Suns need a center. Maybe that's what they were going with, but yeah, I just don't. I think the Suns they're so poorly run. I don't.
Yeah, I know. I hate it for almost anyone going there.
Yeah.
Devin Booker's not necessarily a guy that throws a lot of lobs, but he's a good player. But they still have Bradley Beal, and they can't get rid of him.
No, Bradley Beal, Jalen Green, Booker, and now Malawach.
Yeah, and they've also now. Charlotte has traded Mark Williams to Phoenix Suns for the 29th pick and a 2029 first.
Okay, so then I like it a little bit better.
So they've got another center as well. So they ultimately, Phoenix traded 2 firsts. They traded 29th and a 2029 first for Mark Williams. So now so they already had traded for, what's his name?
Nick Richards.
Nick Richards. So they traded for both of Charlotte's bigs. Did anybody look at Charlotte's bigs the last couple of years? Like,
I gotta get that. I like Mark Williams. I think that he's actually the better player.
Yeah. That's a huge combo. Mark Williams and Kamen Malawach. That's crazy.
But I like that a lot better now that I've learned that information. It just seems like Malawach needs to come off the bench and learn before he's ready for prime time. So
yeah, we'll have to see what the Suns' goal is at the end of the day. I mean, they're tearing so much of it apart. We'll see if they're still trying to compete, because I wouldn't imagine they're trying to lose games with Devin Booker.
Yeah.
He's about to sign the craziest contract of like $150 million for 2 years. So
they've got to throw back up the Brinks truck to keep him there. Kasparas Yakichonis is still there. Derek Queen's still on the board.
This is for the Bulls? This
is the Bulls. The Bulls are picking right now. So at number 12, Carter Bryant. I don't know if I mentioned him.
They went with Noah Senge.
Noah Senge? Okay.
Yep. So that's the second year in a row that the Bulls go with a guy that I was really high on.
Yep.
I really like Mattis.
Yeah, Gonzalez. But I mean, in terms of like, he's kind of very similar to Mattis Gonzalez. So I don't know if
projecty as well.
Very projecty, rim runner, dunker, tall, long.
The Bulls seem to like to load up on the same type of guys.
I don't think it's a disaster, though, just because they need a guy who they need more talent. They don't know exactly what they've got. And if Buzelis reaches his potential and like learns to shoot, I could see them playing next to each other. I don't think that, like, when it comes, you only really run into that positional duplication when it's like smaller players or
Yeah.
bigs. And
Yeah.
I think Gonzalez and Asenge are kind of in that wingy forward-ish mold where you could easily play a couple of those players on the court at the same time. It's not going to be a big issue.
And I liked Queen potentially going there to them because I feel like they're going to move off of Vucevic, and that's kind of a natural kind of replacement. Not that he's not that Queen can shoot like Vucevic, but you get a guy with a bit of sauce on the inside.
Yeah, and two guys that aren't known for their defense.
That's right.
At the center spot. Yeah, absolutely. But Derek Queen, I think maybe that was the thing. Like, I'm starting to warm up on Derek Queen here in terms of, like, I didn't like him in the early to mid lottery, but now that it seems like he is sliding, I think it's going to be harder for teams to pass on him.
So, Shams is reporting Hawks are trading 13th to the Pelicans for the number 23rd and an unprotected 2026 first. An unprotected 2026 first is crazy.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And then it says New Orleans is getting Derek Queen at 13. So New Orleans is walking away with Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears.
Wow.
That's a pretty good haul.
For Brooklyn is?
No, New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay.
So New Orleans has got Derek Queen at number 13. And so the Hawks are trading 13, and the Pelicans gave up a 2026.
Okay, so my camera
unprotected.
My camera just fully ran out of batteries.
Okay.
I'm just going to start charging.
Yeah. What we can also do is we can react to the second half of this tomorrow if you want. I don't know when you're trying to put this out. How long does it take to charge?
Hold on, I'm just charging right now.
Okay.
All right, folks. First episode. We've lost the video feed for me at least, but we're gonna keep trucking here. You're only gonna be able to see Steve's visage and not mine, so you're lucky.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, use your imagination. I'm smiling right now because of Collin Murray-Boyles, but that's very interesting. So Atlanta's moved back 10 spots and picked up a potentially valuable 2026 first rounder. Potentially valuable, yeah. So if it's unprotected,
it'll be the most favorable of New Orleans and Milwaukee.
Those teams aren't going to be good.
Yeah, that is. I mean, they're obviously, I guess, very high on Derek Queen to do that because I don't think the Pelicans are going to be that much better next year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They're going to have to make some deals in order to do it.
Yeah, they've got an injured DeJounte Murray, a rookie Jeremiah Fears, and Jordan Poole. Zion as a wild card.
Yeah.
No, Bruce Brown expired. Rookie Derek Queen, second year Yves Missi. In the West?
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. That's kind of a baffling.
I feel like they just traded a top 10 pick in 2026.
Yeah.
But if they like Queen, it's kind of a go get your guy. Okay. I guess they're that high.
That seems horrible for the Pelicans.
Right. Okay. They still have Trey Murphy. They still have Herb Jones.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that I think they're planning on being good next year. I think that's the idea, but they're not going to be good. I mean, in the West especially. Yeah. The West is going to be a good team. A good.
You need a bona fide point guard in the West to.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you do, but yeah.
I think they're banking on the fact that maybe Jordan Poole is going to look a lot better next to Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
And that the two of them are going to be able to sort of play off of one another in a harmonious way. Yeah. I just don't think that their defense is going to be any good. Yeah. And they don't have they've got some shooting, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I just don't see it for them. I just don't see the path to the playoffs next year. I think they're going to be in the lottery again. And so they just traded a lottery pick and their pick this season for the 13th pick.
Yeah.
That seems bad.
Yeah. And that number 23 pick, that could be if when you get to 23, if Hanson Yang is available, I don't think that is that much of a drop off. I mean, maybe somebody else will say that it is that much of a drop off from Derek Queen, but I don't think it is to warrant giving up another top 10 pick or another top.
Yeah. I mean, there's Danny Wolf. There's other guys at that draft position that are similar types of players.
Yeah.
like maybe it just comes down to like Derek Queen. Like, maybe the guy is just going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
I can see why some people would think that he definitely has the confidence to be a winner at the next level. He's definitely got the belief in himself, and he's a good offensive player. Don't get me wrong,
but he's got the footwork in the paint. He's like
the touch.
He's similar to Şengün and all that kind of thing. But so he is going to be paired next to.
Yeah, I know. We were just talking about how the food down in New Orleans.
He's going to gain 30 pounds.
Oh my God. 2 big boys down in New Orleans.
Maybe they'll change the NBA. They'll change the way that they do it.
Yeah.
Instead of the Twin Tower lineup, they got the
BMI buddies.
No, but good for him. I mean, that's great. Like, he was sliding a little bit, so it's nice for him to stop.
Carter Bryant and Kasparas Yakuchonis.
Yeah,
God, they are still on the board.
And they're going to be. See, I guess my fear, because what is OKC has the 15th pick?
OKC has the 15th pick. Yeah.
I was like, CMB or Cedric Howard is just going to drop into their lap.
Yeah.
And now neither of them have.
No.
So I wonder who they would be going for at that point. Carter Bryant.
Carter Bryant could be.
Is that an OKC type pick?
Yeah, for sure. A guy that they don't need a win now guy. They need a guy that can, they can develop. And that seems with high upside. They might also make a consolidation trade. They still have the Croatian guy from last year. I can't remember his name.
Topic. Nikola Topic.
Yeah. They still have him at the guard spot. So I'm not exactly sure what they're planning on doing. It seems like they have they could use another center, I guess. Thomas Sorber, Asa Newell, Behringer. I could see them taking Behringer. I think Behringer fits the MO. They like taking international guys.
Yeah.
He's, a lot of people are very high on him. Mm-hmm. So I could see them taking him, but they could go in a lot of different directions. Carter Bryant, I'm surprised. I had him, one of the things that's very interesting is that he was mocked to go late first, earlier in the season. Yeah. And people were really high on this kid just because of what a lot of people see as a really high ceiling. Yeah. Because of the size and the length and his ability to shoot.
Yep. I think initially people looked at the low usage at Arizona and kind of judged him for it. And then people kind of came around to the idea that Arizona might be kind of hiding him a little bit, hoping that he would come back. Because his on off splits were incredible. He was winning all his minutes, and people are looking at him like, oh, he doesn't really do much. And I think
the guy averages 2 steals a game in very limited minutes, which is bonkers. And as
somebody from No Ceilings was pointing out, they're the No Ceilings draft show, they were saying he's trying to do exactly the right amount that without stepping on toes and trying to stay on the floor. So it's he does actually have some of these dribble moves. He does have some of this, but he's trying not to play himself off the floor by stepping outside of his role. So I think, I'm personally somebody who thinks that there's a lot more juice to squeeze, and that he does have a high ceiling. I heard some rumblings that some people were finding in workouts and stuff, they're finding that he might not be the most intense and aggressive of a defender. Maybe not a dog, not digging in as much, but it's mumblings, right? So you don't know. I think I expected him to be gone, at least by Chicago.
Okay, well, guess what? Carter Bryant, he just got drafted by, it says the Spurs, but it's actually the Hawks. It's the Spurs. It is the Spurs. It's not the Spurs
Hawks, with the Hawks pick, because the Hawks traded them an unprotected first,
right?
Which I thought was crazy. Thought they did that in the first place. Okay.
I like that pick. And one of the reasons. Yeah, and another thing is that another reason that he didn't play quite a bit was the fouling, because he averaged quite a few fouls in 20 minutes per game, which is that I'm not too worried about. Yeah. Younger players are going to foul. He is very young. Well, I guess he's just under 20 years old, but he was a freshman And I think he does have a lot of potential, especially on the defensive end. So a 3-and-D wing, I mean, those are obviously kind of the currency of the league. If you can shoot the three and you can play good defense, that's pretty much, you're going to have a role in the NBA, even if you don't do a lot else. So I like that pick for them.
He has to be thrilled too. I mean, I think so many people are angling just to get on the Spurs, just to be a part of the
core,
the Wemby show and what they're building, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be good for him. And he's like, you know, all the intel about him, everything is he's just such a bright, just good
Young
kid.
guy.
Like, you know, he's interviews very well. He's, you know, like he's a thinker, similar to Wemby there. So
yeah, I mean, maybe he can teach him the ways of the closed fist or being a monk.
Yeah,
I love the pictures that he's doing. Okay, we got to.
Oh, they picked Thomas Sorber.
They picked Thomas Sorber. I think that makes
Sorber.
sense. Yeah, he is a good, solid big.
The rich get richer.
Well, they needed another C.
and Isaiah Hartenstein is very expensive. And when they get expensive, I don't think that they can keep a guy like him. So they need to start filling in those gaps with the cost-controlled kind of affordable contract. So that's great for them.
I think that makes quite a bit of sense. They need, I mean, they could have gone a bunch of different ways, but in terms of addressing a need, I think Sorber is like a perfect plug and play center. I think that he can step in, unlike a guy like Malawach, who I think has a higher ceiling. I think that Sorber is a guy who's like less of a freak, more of just a meat and potatoes guy that can go out there and just do what you need a center to do.
Yeah, and he's tough. He's a physical guy. He's like a bully, you know?
Yeah.
So it also gives them, I mean, Chet kind of got bullied in these playoffs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And obviously it worked out for them, but he got bullied. So
he's a defensive guy. Like he's a defender, and he does the rim protection that you want from a five, in that he protects the basket against guards. The problem, though, is that some of the center stuff he can't do. So he can't box out. He can't stop players from bodying him on the inside and pushing him around. And so you're always going to need to protect him. It's just like, if you look at him, Chet, that is, he will never fill out his frame to the point.
His frame is just not like that. Like KD can't put on.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's just their body type.
And the thing is that what the NBA has shown is that there are a lot of different ways to be good. You don't have to slot perfectly into an archetype, like a regular, like you did maybe 20 years ago. So there are room for guys like Chet. The problem, though, is that if he is your starting C and you don't have a way, like some beefier guy to protect him, you're going to get crushed. You're going to get smoked. Like if you have to go up against a traditional center, he's going to beat the crap out of Chet. So that's a really good pick for them. They have some beef. They need a big beefy boy.
A different look if they need to get more physical, or they can stand right next to him.
Right.
It's great. You know, they've had some misses with some draft picks, and it hasn't really affected them that much. Like, was it Ousmane Dieng? Didn't really affect them because they have so many picks that they can afford to miss on some. I think this is a hit. I think it's going to work out well for them. That's great. Yeah,
and I mean, like, if you've got, like, most teams have to be like a sniper, you know? They've got one bullet. They have to get the kill. The way that the Presti has built the Thunder, it's like they've got a machine gun. They can just, they have so many picks in their clip, they can just empty it out. And I mean, with that in mind, you would think that they would go with like more high upside swings that are going to go for like guys who could, if they pan out, they're fantastic. But if they don't, then, you know, they don't really turn into anything. Whereas I think Sorber is a safer pick.
Yep.
So, you know, I like the pick for them.
Yep.
Let's see who the Grizz are going to pick.
So they're picking, but it is it's Portland's pick essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Is that how that works?
Well, I mean, the Magic had it, and then
the Grizz had it, and they moved it.
Wow. This is
proposed trade Portland. Yeah.
Okay, so Portland moved back? Is that what happened?
For the Cedric Howard thing, I think. Trailblazers are trading Cedric Coward. Yeah. So the Grizz could get
Right.
Coward.
Oh, right. Yes, you mentioned this earlier.
Yeah. And it was basically the Grizzlies are sending 16 and a 2028 first. So that was one of Orlando's. So basically two of Orlando's picks for Cedric Coward.
Okay. So this will basically be a draft for the Portland Trailblazers. So with that in mind, they need a big to replace Ayton. I mean, they've got Toumani Camara, who's kind of like a 4-ish, 5-ish, like just a very good defender. But I'm not exactly sure what's on the mind there. Yeah.
What's their need, right? Like they just got Drew, who apparently doesn't want to be there, but he keeps getting traded there. But they've got Drew, they've got Scoot, they've got Shaden, they've got all their guards kind of filled in.
Right.
Wings, I mean,
they've got older players, like they've got Jeremy Grant, and they've got some guys on the wing. But yeah, they could use a wing. They could use another big.
Because they've got Clingan.
Oh my goodness! How could I forget Donovan Clingan? Yeah, they don't need a big at all.
Yeah, so maybe, but like, what are they gonna do? Pick Kasparas? No, I don't know.
Kasparas Yakichonis, I could see them picking him up. I mean, Scoot is done better, but
I think with them, I would honestly go Rasheer Fleming here.
Yep, I could definitely see that.
Great shooter, great play finisher.
Yep, and he could play at the 4.
Yeah,
he could play backup 5.
Yeah, and he will jump. He will jump Chris Murray. He will jump. What's that other French guy's name? He'll jump all these wings that they've kind of drafted with late firsts and early seconds. He'll jump all of them very quickly because he's just an excellent play finisher. He doesn't create really much on his own.
Yeah, they don't need that.
A good shooter, exactly right. So that's what I would go. I'd probably go Rasheer Fleming.
I'm going to be interested to see where Jace Richardson goes because I think that the measurements were not kind to him.
Yeah,
he's 6'1".
Yeah,
but the guy was a bucket, and he was one of my sleeper picks before that disastrous draft combine where they found out that he was like a lot smaller than people thought he was.
Yeah, I think they're hoping he was like 6'3" or 6'4" or something. It was like
that he could play the 2-guard spot. But if he's like forced to play point guard just because of his size, then I don't know. But I'm interested to see where he goes. Will Riley, another guy that I'm curious about.
Of course.
Man, I can't believe how far Kasparas Yakichonis has fallen. Like he was mocked to go top 5.
Yep.
And now he has fallen, like it looks like he's going to fall almost all the way down to 20. Like I don't know where he's going to end. Where does he stop, do you think?
Right. Who?
Timberwolves could use another guard.
Yeah, because they have Mike Conley, who is aging out.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they feel about Rob Dillingham. I don't know if he's their longtime...
Yang Hansen. Okay. Interesting. Hansen Yang. Yeah. Well, of course, with the Chinese, you put it backwards. But yeah, Hansen Yang.
So they went with another big. So now they have Ayton, Yang, and Clingan. So Ayton, odd man out.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy.
I really like Hansen Yang.
Yeah, it's crazy how Hansen Yang just kind of appeared like very late in the process, but like the hype kind of exploded.
Yeah, he's kind of had hype since like almost like a mystical aura from being like, oh, this guy's killing it over in the whatever CBL.
Yeah.
The Chinese basketball thing, and but they're like, but how does it translate? How does it translate? Yeah, and then when he actually made it to the combine and impressed with his like all his performances, his measurables, everything, and then I think he played maybe one game and he was awesome, and they're like, okay, yeah, he translates.
Very, very interesting, and this is I mean, he's mocked. I mean, on Tankathon in the second round.
Yeah,
but you mentioned him as a guy that could be drafted as early as like 23, right?
Yeah, I thought that maybe that's exactly.
But this is even higher, man.
Yeah, this is 16th.
Yep. So this is
they like him.
This is for the Trailblazers.
Yeah. He's ended up on the Trailblazers. So in the combine, what I saw was that he was kind of that like. Perfect, like high post hub. He's a very good passer. He's really tall. He can see over everything. I think that's really interesting for Portland.
Yeah, because they've got They have, like, I for some reason I forgot about Donovan Clingan, but like they have Clingan, and they now have two. Like, my thing is that a lot of teams have found a way to play two bigs together, but in my opinion, if you were a general manager and you're building a team, that's just not what you want to do. If you're forced to do it like the way that the reason that, say, the Timberwolves did it with Cat and Rudy was because Cat could not anchor a top 5 defense. I mean, he did a lot better as the years went on, and like when he was traded to the Knicks, he actually did a pretty good job there. But that was kind of out of necessity, where you're trying to find a way to make the defense work. Whereas I feel like in most situations, bigs are not, like, you just want to play one big. Because they're role players.
Yeah, the best example of it is the Cavs, right? But that's because Mobley is kind of just a really tall four. Like, he's obviously, I mean, like, he could start at the 5, but for the most part, you don't want to. And it's just a really good pairing of rim protection from Jared Allen and Mobley being able to step out and do a lot more. And until this year, when he really developed his bag and became a lot more well-rounded of a player and really was able to step in to become that 4. But, like, if you look at how a lot of the other teams are trying to do it, like, if that's what Portland's mission is here, if they're trying to do double big, I don't really get it. They're both kind of two slower foot, beefy guys with some shot blocking.
That's you want. And the thing about Mobley is, as you said, like, he is lithe, he is thin, he can move, he can guard the perimeter, he can guard inside. You can give him the ball, and it's not going to look pretty, but he can do some stuff on the outside one-on-one. And another thing is that they are running 2 guards. And as a result, you need extra interior defense to make that kind of work, where 2 bigs are going to look a lot better if you've got all the playmaking up front, or I should say at the guard spots. Whereas, like, if you're just building a team from scratch, which is kind of what's happening with Portland, I just don't understand. Okay, Behringer goes to the Timberwolves. Interesting.
Behringer. Okay.
Yeah.
So we went with another big. Okay, so I mean, as a bench big, that's cool, and maybe they're planning for the future without Rudy. Because he's getting older. Huge contract. They can use his huge contract to potentially get a good player. They still have to decide what they're doing with Randall.
Yeah, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert. That's a pretty crowded front court.
I think they might lose Naz Reid this year.
They could,
because I think he's a free agent, and they can't really afford to keep him. I don't think. I don't remember if he's RFA or UFA, but
let me just check here.
This is interesting. So they still haven't really solved unless they're really confident in Rob Dillingham to take over for Mike Conley.
That seems like an issue for them. Naz Reid, let's see here. He has a player option for next season. So,
but it would be,
it's 15 million. Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Because you might want to cash in. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense to get somebody at the backup 5 spot. Behringer, international player. He's, he's got a lot of skill, and that's kind of what a lot of European bigs are known for, that, just being able to do a lot of different things. But he's more of a traditional C. And I'm interested to see, like, is he going to be able to make the jump right away? Because, like, these guys are in contention. Like, they have, or are they going to kind of throttle back a little bit? Like, because the thing about Ant is that he's still young, and a lot of their key pieces are aging out. So, like, how are they going to make the next step forward? And I think, I mean, having a backup 5 that you can develop makes sense. I'm just interested to see what their team's going to look like next season, because I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah,
they've stashed for time. What's that Canadian there?
Oh, right, yes, the 4, like, he's like a power forward.
I can't even blank on his name, but they've stashed him for. I mean, like, I've been saying free him for forever because I want his NBA career to get started. Yeah, right. So I wonder how he factors into all this, because exactly, like, they're
Leonard Miller.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's an interesting player because he looked like he had a lot of promise entering the league, and he's played virtually 0 time for them.
Yeah.
So
and he's been killing it in the like last time I checked, he was killing it in the
G League.
The G League, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been continuing to. Yeah, he averages 25, 11, and 4
That's
in the
just
G League.
nuts. Yeah, that's hilarious.
He's too good for the G League, right? So I wonder if they're gonna have him take a step up at some point. I would hope so, at least.
Yeah, we're getting kind of into the weeds here. A lot of the players that
Kasparis,
his fall has been pretty unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm just interested to see where it ends. I mean, Washington is next up.
yeah,
I could see
kind
that.
of a freebie for them.
Yeah, that seems
He's probably
like
the best player on the board, so I mean, you might as well.
And you'd be able to play him off of the bench, and he provides shooting. He provides a little bit of playmaking. You might be able to play him alongside Bob Carrington, just because they're both kind of larger guards. And I'm curious to see where it stops. Like, it seems like he is definitely like mock top 5. I cannot believe that he was mock top 5. Like it seems like a year ago that he was, when he was hitting all those off the dribble threes, that was kind of his bag when he was.
The start of the year was kind of crazy. They had like Jaeger was mock top 5 for a little bit because like they kind of started the season, but
also Igor Demin, and I'm curious, like, because all of the problems that I had with him, where like, is he a lead guard? Is he going to be a number 1? Is he going to be able to translate at the NBA level as a creator? All of that is starting to become like, at this point, who cares? Because those concerns are concerns when you're drafting a top 10 player who you expect to become the best player on your team, who you expect to be the lead ball handler. When you're talking about like in the late teens, early 20s, you're thinking role player. You're thinking a guy who can contribute, maybe a bench player. And
you stop looking at weaknesses and you start looking at what's your little added bonuses, what's your little what's the sweetener that you do bring to it. So,
and he brings shooting, he brings playmaking. Even if he struggled with the turnovers, that was his issue. Like, defenses aren't going to be keying into him like they did while he was with the Illini. Like, it seems like he could come off of the bench and he's not going to be targeted when he has the ball as much, and he can play a little bit more free and easy. And I think that a lot of his weaknesses become way, way, way less important. And the fact that he can shoot and make plays for other people is going to be something that everybody has to really take a good hard look at this range. Especially like we've seen a lot of the bigs go really like it's been big here. Like, when are the guards, it seems like, have dropped considerably. Even like
Shams is breaking something. I don't know what it is though.
Washington is trading Walter Clayton Jr. at number 18 to Utah. Okay. Because I remember Walter Clayton, speaking of guards who were in that range, he was that guy who was a lot of people were pretty high on him.
He's just a really good player. He's
senior,
he's a little bit older. Exactly. I know that Magic fans are probably crushed. Magic fans really wanted him.
They wanted him.
Florida guy.
And another thing is that they could use, like, they probably want a guy who's ready to contribute.
Exactly.
At the guard spot, especially seeing as that they traded what's his name? They're Cole Anthony. He's gone now, so they're looking for a guy who can come off of the bench and probably do a little bit of scoring, a little bit of playmaking.
Definitely. But so that makes their draft position interesting, because I thought they were pretty keyed in on Walter Clayton. So I got to see what Utah gave up to get that. Also, Walter Clayton Jr. on Utah is interesting because now they brought in a mature player. Utah sends number 21 and second round picks to Washington.
So this is just pretty much this is
jump up a couple spots for some second pick sweeteners. Okay.
That makes sense. I get the feeling that, like, of course they took Ace in at 5, I think that they just thought he was the best value proposition.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to shore up the guard spot. Because as we were talking about, like, yeah, they've got guards on their team.
Yeah.
Those guys they probably don't have a lot of confidence in. Or at the very least, they want to cast another die. They want to they want to get another opportunity just to get more competition at that spot and see if the cream rises to the top. One of these guys is going to pan out. So that kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, Washington, they're up.
So basically so he ends up in Utah. Okay.
And then it's Brooklyn afterwards, one of their many picks here.
Which we have to see if they're going to just draft all of them. I would have thought they would have started to combine a couple of them by now, but they didn't move up for a second lottery pick like they'd wanted.
Yeah, I don't know.
They just drafted Jaguar.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really considering just, like, if there was a team that could keep all of their picks, it's Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true. The cabinet's empty.
They don't have anybody, really. So here's Walter Clayton Jr. just got drafted. There's no real reason to... sorry. Yeah, he's got the Gen Z haircut.
Yeah.
Like a very, very, very Gen Z haircut. Yeah. He was drafted a little higher than I thought. Of course, like, I didn't expect Walter Clayton Jr. to be drafted ahead of Kasparas Jakubonis.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I thought he'd be in the 20s, yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but the Raptors admin is trolling it now. He, 4 minutes ago, he posted a picture of CMB smiling, saying, "See, guys, he's happy." Oh. And then posting, "It'll be all good, real ones already know," with the gif of Alonzo Mourning shaking his head and then shrugging. And I'm sure you know what happened with Alonzo Mourning and the Raptors.
Yeah, well...
So that is just straight.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, Alonzo Mourning, who had the illness that magically went away when he went back to the Heat.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and like a lot of people are really on this going, oh, he shook his head and said the F word. And as someone else pointed out, it looks like it's more of a relief thing. And that's what it looked like to me. It looked just like kind of a relief of, wow, the moment.
Yeah.
I don't think he's visibly showing he's unhappy.
Well, he did. The thing that makes me think that this is just like there's nothing there is that when they talked about Toronto and when he was interviewed about Toronto, he had a lot of really good things to say. Right. And he definitely knows the city and he knows about what the Toronto Raptors are building. This is not something that is... He's obviously thought about being drafted by Toronto. Yeah. I don't think that he is like pissed off that he's going to...
No, I don't either. And like, I think a lot of people are overreacting to that. And there's so many other people who think it's a bad pick because they don't know who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they spent the whole time looking at a couple other people. So they'll see soon enough.
One of the things is that somebody said, it's like, I can't believe they didn't draft a big. And I'm like, he is...
Yeah,
like you can play him at the 5.
He plays bigger than his.
He has
size.
A huge wingspan. Yeah. One of the things is that he has really long arms.
Yeah.
And even though he's a little undersized, like you don't want. Here's the thing, I don't think you want to play him at the 5 full time.
No.
Like we've seen what that kind of stuff leads to. It's just it gets really ugly when you have to play small for too long. But when you watch a team like, I mean, the blueprint for that kind of thing is the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors, like their lineup of death with Draymond at the 5.
Yep.
You can play that kind of, especially when you have Scotty Barnes on your team. Yeah, Scotty Barnes does a lot of center stuff.
Yeah.
Collin Murray-Boyles does a lot of center stuff. Like as long as you have a real center and you can play him there at spurts, like don't get too... People are just all about positions.
Yeah,
people care so much about like, what do the Raptors have now? And is this player going to fit exactly into my idea of what they need, rather than, is this guy a really good player? And does he fit in terms of the culture? Is he going to be a useful player within the offense? Is he going to be able to defend? All of those questions that I just asked, Yes.
Yeah.
The guy he is a good kid. He's smart. He knows how to play the game. He's going to make a difference. He's going to make a difference on both ends. And that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah. And I think the fallout from this roster wise is the squeeze on Mobo and probably Ochai Agbaji as well, who I always say, oh, play him as a wing, play him as a guard. But on the bench unit, he was consistently pushed to a 4. And in tanking seasons, he was consistently played as a 4. And not last season because he was great last season, but the season before, so many people were down on him. And I was like, we are consistently starting a 6'4", 6'5" guy as a power forward, and then going, he sucks. I'm like, this is crazy. So I like Ochai. I don't want to like lose him or anything, but I think that somebody like Mobo, his minutes start to get squeezed when you look at the bench. But maybe you are playing kind of the two of them off the bench as a small ball 5-4 kind of. Nobody's really exactly the center because you don't need that exact position, because they're still waiting for Shamshe to rehab that was it ACL or MCL, whatever it was. Right. He had that major injury, but I think he's the guy that they are hoping for as their backup big, which like that's low key why I'm happy they didn't pick up a backup big, because I'm actually really high on Ulrich. I know he's still a project play, but I'm like, I don't want to bring somebody else in
before you see what we got.
Exactly.
Well, what I'm going to say here might be controversial, but when you're drafting in the lottery, if you're drafting top 10, listen, I like Mobo. I think that he's got some potential, and I want to see more of what he can bring. But guess what? Let's not draft a guy thinking about Mobo. Yeah, about Mobo.
Exactly.
That doesn't
too sentimental.
Don't let that cross your mind when you draft a guy, the backup.
Exactly.
Okay, so Nolan Traore,
who again was a guy who was mocked in like the top 5 early in the year.
Right, exactly.
And slid because his performances just got worse and worse, and his shooting fell off. But near the end of the year, it started to come back. Okay, so far the Nets are just going chalk and just picking. I'm
interested to see kind of how all of these guys are going to fit together, and also whether they're going to make an additional move. Yeah. Like I know that they've been thinking about trading the, so here's the thing, is that this is the pick that they were rumored to be interested in trading for RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
And
potential Cam Johnson. At 19. Yeah.
So if in that case, I mean, now that the Raptors have, Collin Murray-Boyles, I don't want to trade him. I know that sounds like I was all for RJ Barrett, Cam Thomas, doing that swap for the number 9 pick. But yeah, I would not trade Collin Murray-Boyles now that the Toronto Raptors have him. Somehow I'm already attached to this guy, which doesn't make any sense, but
there's I think he cleared up his reaction too. NBA TV posted him talking about it after.
Oh, really? And he said, like, don't worry about it. I'm like super pumped.
I'm not exactly sure, but he seems to be happy.
Collin Murray-Boyles' reaction to getting drafted is priceless.
Yeah.
How are you soaking in this dream
and as Curly says, he cleared it up, LOL. So he. Again, much to do about nothing, as the fan base so quickly does. One thing about Raptors fans, I don't know if this is like consistent with other fan bases. Yeah, we are very sensitive to being spurned by somebody. If for 1 second you're not ride or die as a Raptor, it's like get out, bye, boo. So
that's it is such a like little brother syndrome that Toronto and Canada and all of these like I get it. I don't like being disrespected either, but come on, like guys, if he doesn't want to get drafted by the Toronto Raptors and he has to, visit the city and understand, like, guess what? He doesn't have a choice. He's here. He's going to learn to love it. Like the guys who get drafted by Utah or by other cities that, aren't marquee NBA markets. That's what, as Don Draper said, that's what the money is for.
Exactly.
If you don't like the city, guess what? You're being paid, almost $10 million or, like $6 or $7 million a season, you can suck it up. Canada is a nice place, even though it kind of sucks here in the wintertime, I'll admit. But listen, guys, don't worry about it.
Well,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, and there's a difference too. Like, I think the actual organization has a good reputation among players throughout the league.
Right.
Like, people always speak highly about it. Versus somebody like the Pelicans, whose reputation as an organization is in the mud right now.
Right.
As you've got guys talking about how, it was cursed playing there. Like Dyson Daniels said, he was like, it felt like it was cursed. DeJounte Murray.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, he tore a strip off the organization. I don't know if I like Dyson Daniels. Like when I hear him ripping them, that carries more weight to me than a guy like DeJounte, because DeJounte, he ripped the Spurs too. Like with the Spurs are a first class organization, like small market, but
which he recently like praised Pop because obviously, but
the front office he was mad at because they had other players like playing ahead of him in certain situations, and I'm like, come on.
He was also, I think he was low key mad at us for skipping him and picking Pascal originally when he got drafted, because he said he thought that some teams viewed like what had happened in his personal life and held that against him or something. Because like I think he had some troubled youth stuff, I'm not sure. So I don't know. I remember when he was on Atlanta and it was the play-in game and he pushed a ref when there was a few minutes left, and he pushed the ref and got teed up and kicked out of the game, and they lost the game. And I was like, I don't want that guy anywhere near my team ever. I don't care
like there was also the stuff in the summertime when he's playing against like DoorDash drivers bouncing balls off of their head and like hitting them in the face with the ball and stuff. It's
and
like,
beefing
this guy
with,
seems insane. Yeah,
and he was beefing, but like they might be friends. I don't know because they're both from the Seattle area. But like he's beefing with like rookie Paolo Banchero.
Yeah,
like,
Paolo Banchero. I remember
exactly,
that. It didn't seem like it seemed like fake. It seemed like he was going for real.
Yeah.
And like he definitely, like when you watch him play on the court, the guy, you can tell that he thinks he's the best player in the NBA, which I mean, listen, it takes all kinds of players in the NBA, and a lot of the time you need that kind of killer instinct. But
you need supreme confidence. Like a lot of people very critical of Fred VanVleet, a lot of Raptors fans, bitter, whatever, thinking, he's cocky. And I'm like, this guy is 5'10". He would have never made it this far if he wasn't cocky and didn't believe in himself, right? So you need like a certain element of that,
but to a degree.
Exactly.
Like the thing is that you don't want to have a guy who is a chucker who's just gonna like, oh, look who it is,
Kasparas to the Heat.
Yeah, to the Heat. Of course, the Heat.
Which I think, I think the Heat wanted Traore.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think there were some rumors of that, but I mean, Kasparas as a consolation prize, like
they always seem to catch the guys who fall down.
Exactly.
Like Kel'el Ware was.
Yeah. It's just like there's the devil magic again. It just it always seems to work out for them.
What is Pat Riley doing? He's doing some finger wagging thing.
Interesting. But listen, no, they needed. Like what their starting guard is pretty much Davion Mitchell now.
Yep, and they've got Terry Rozier, but who cares?
Yeah, exactly. That was a mistake. So now they've got Davion Mitchell because he picked up his option, or they picked up his option.
They like him, and it makes sense why they like him. Yeah, he's definitely a Heat culture guy, and it helps when you go from shooting 27% or whatever it was with the Raptors to like 45% with the Heat, which is so funny. I predicted that, by the way. As soon as he was traded to the Heat, I was like, this guy is going to learn to shoot.
Yeah.
But Kasparas finally leaves the board. I love that pick for the Heat. I think that nobody really expected him to fall this far. So and they've got another swagged out white boy with the sauce. He and Tyler Hero. Although I don't think Kasparas seems like just he's got some moves, but he doesn't seem to have the same attitude or personality as Tyler Hero.
Not all that, which is it's interesting. They're actually like low key building a good little young core as they go along, while they still have Bam and all that. They have Wiggins, which they were rumored to be possibly trading.
Yeah, and I saw that they were rumored that Toronto was interested, but that was just the betting markets.
Yeah, you're always going to have Canada. There's a Canadian. They're going to say, okay, how do we involve them? I
think that this is a great value pick for them.
Yeah,
and they definitely did need a guard. So I think that bringing in a guy who can take dribble handoffs from probably one of the best dribble handoff guys in the league in Bam Adebayo. He's the guy that kind of stirs the drink in terms of making plays for guards. And he has really helped screen guards reach their potential, because you can run a lot of different actions with Bam out there, setting picks and, being one of the best roll men in the league. And I think a lot of people overrated Bam a little bit. I think the Heat overrated him a little bit, but come on.
He was getting top 20 shouts and stuff, sure. But yeah, he's still an incredible defender. He still fits very well into most offenses.
Yeah. And he runs their set so well, and he creates so much space with the picks. And one of the greatest things that you can do, and I mean, the Raptors did this with Yak, is the screening and then re-screening. Like, a good guard will use a screen like two or three times and then get the kind of separation that they need in order to make a play. And for a guy like Kasparas Jakubonis, who isn't like the greatest athlete, doesn't have the best first step, he needs a good screen. And I think that is something that he's going to get with Bam Adebayo. So I like that.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
We'll get to see if he lives up.
So Utah has this pick now because of the trade, or is this going to Washington? Yeah, this is going to Washington.
This is the one. They switched it up, and they get the future first round pick. It's a second round pick, a future seconds for this one. Right,
because they moved back a little bit. I feel like this is like maybe kind of a freebie to take Ace and Newell if you're gonna maybe run him and Sar together.
Or just if you need a backup five, or you need somebody to play alongside him. I wasn't a fan of Ace and Newell because he was getting top 10 buzz for a while.
I know. Yeah.
And my issue with him is that he didn't really have like any plus skills. Like, he was big, he was athletic, and he can move around. His touch was pretty good, and he put up stats. Yeah. But when you looked at him and you're like, where are the value adds? Where are the things that he's gonna do for you at the next level? Like, he's not a super great rim protector. He's not the best rebounder. He can't shoot. Yeah. Although I think there's potential there. Yeah, I mean, I could see Washington taking Ace and Newell.
He's a guy who can kind of float in the dunker spot, and he can clean up some shots and stuff. He's not.
He's like kind of stuck between positions a little bit.
Yeah, versus like somebody last year, Kyle Filipowski, who is a big who can't do any of the big stuff.
Right.
Really, like, he can somewhat, but he just doesn't really hit too much screens and everything. But so, I mean, I think it's decent value at this point. I mean, who else are they going to go with? Like, Jace Richardson. They've already got so many guards.
They could go with Danny Wolf.
Yeah. I mean, that would actually be fun.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the better picks for them, because let's say you do want to do a double big lineup. I'm better with a double big lineup when one of them can shoot and one of them is more of like a passing hub. Yeah. And then you can have a guy who's like Sar. I think his upside is as a defender, like as a versatile rim protector who can move his feet and get to shots and block. And Danny Wolf, like, he played next to Vladislav Golden like the whole year because he needs some help on that end. Yeah. But and that would actually be a pretty good pairing, because Danny Wolf is a really good rebounder, but he's not a good defender and not a good shot blocker. Yeah. He can also is a passer and a shooter. Yeah. And that could work pretty well with Alex Sar. So like Malawach would be a horrible fit with Sar. I think Danny Wolf would be a good fit with
It'd be pretty fun,
Alex
actually.
Sar. Yeah.
That would be pretty fun.
And I mean, yeah, maybe not maybe you could go somewhere else, but I think it would be a pretty good fit. And I think that Danny Wolf is like one of those guys that could be a steal. Like, he could flop. He reminds me of Kelly Olynyk, obviously. Yeah. That's the very easy comparison to make. Yeah. I've also thought he's got the kind of floppy movement, kind of like a Tito Turkoglu kind of in a way that he can kind of move around on the perimeter with the ball in his hands, kind of like Hito did. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'd be pretty surprised if they went guard. So
yeah, Jace probably not. And Liam McNeely, he was also mocked similarly pretty high, but oh wow, Will Riley. Okay, so they did. So
they took another Canadian.
Yeah, they did go with a wing. So
yeah, so they've got that duo of because like Kaishan George is Canadian, but also Swiss, whatever. So they've got this Canadian wing duo.
Yeah, I mean, adding more wings, you can never really go too wrong because obviously wing is like is the position where you can play the most of them on the floor at the same time. Yeah. So you can take a couple of them, and most good teams have like 4, even 5 wings on the same team. Other positions, guard and center, you don't want to take. You have max 2 bigs. Yeah. You have max 2 small guards. And obviously there's like, it's a little blurry on who is a guard, who is a wing, that kind of stuff. Like off-ball guards, is that the same thing? But yeah, for sure. I think that this makes some sense. Look at that. Grew 9 inches from 5'9" to 6'6" during the pandemic. Hey, that'll help you get into the NBA.
Yeah.
That must have hurt. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine?
Because like I grew like between like grade 11 and 12, I grew like 5 or 6 inches, and that was like, I thought that was crazy. 9 inches is insane.
Yeah. I mean, he is a big wing.
Yeah.
He's 6'9".
He's still skinny, you know? He's still...
Yeah. Kind of looks like LaMelo a little bit.
Yeah.
Facially.
Yeah. What are they got to move Kispert at some point, right? Like they've got Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, and now
Kispert is also just like, he's not, for a rebuilding team. Yeah. He's not the right fit. Like,
no, he's just kind of like a plus off a bench for a contender.
He's kind of a one-trick pony. And for a younger team, you're really looking for guys who can do a lot of different things. Yeah. Whereas for the further along in the build you go, so when you're close to a championship, the skills you need are really super obvious and they're super identified. Yeah. Where you're like, okay, we need one more shooter so that we can plug them into this lineup here, and he'll take care of this problem that we have. When you're starting off a rebuild, you don't know what you got. You got a bunch of clay, and you got to kind of figure out how they're going to develop. Yeah. So you don't know, like a guy like Kispert who can do one thing, that those kinds of guys aren't a good fit alongside of those players who are just getting better, especially if they're not going to be there for the long haul.
Exactly. And those guys are maybe fine if you can keep them cheap for a long time. Like I'm hoping that the Raptors can keep Jamison Battle cheap for a long time.
Absolutely. Like, specialist.
Right. He's a specialist, cool, who like I think he can do a little bit extra. I think he's because of his size, like he's a pretty stocky 6'6". Like he's like a 220, 230 pound.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, right. So he could do a little bit more. So I hope that they're able to like keep him for a good price and everything like that. But
and also it when it comes to like value proposition, as you were saying, like his contract's super cheap, but also they didn't even use a pick to get him. Yeah. So it's like all upside basically.
It's all pluses, and he's a guy that when you look at mixes of lineups and stuff like that, it's like I look at the bench and I'm almost like, I don't think I want Battle to be the 14th man. I want him to actually get in there because he provides a lot of shooting. Those are great players to have. Like, I always thought about, like specifically with Battle, I always thought I was like, this is a guy that the Celtics would want. This is a guy that they would have off their bench who just comes in and you're like, who is this guy hitting like
bang
3
shots?
What is this?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And specialists, I find like when they're on the floor, they got to do one more thing. Like the thing is that you can never just be a shooter. I feel like the best guys are either, maybe they're a good rebounder. I think Jamison Battle, that's his value add, is that he does chip in on the boards. Yeah. Or you could have to, obviously 3-and-D is like a very established archetype. Maybe if you can handle a little bit, that can help you out a little bit. Like you need to have one other thing that you bring to the table. You can't just be a negative in every other aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that I always bring up is like shooters. It's kind of like special teams in NFL, where, a kicker, he just has to be good at that one thing. Whereas in the NBA, you got to be able to defend your position. Like that's a very, very big thing. So you can't be, you can be not good, but you can't be so catastrophically bad that you give up all of the points that you scored. Yeah. And a lot of the time, like, sure, defense is one thing, but also like possession battle things are things like the reason that Nikola Jokic isn't like a complete disaster defensively is that he doesn't turn the ball over hardly ever.
Yeah.
And he's good for 14 rebounds a game.
Mm-hmm.
So you are winning the possession battle easily with him on the floor, even though he sucks protecting the basket.
Yeah.
So similarly, Jamison Battle, if he can get you a couple of extra boards a game, you can get away with it. And I think that's what you should be viewing from a guy who is, not even a drafted player. Is that if you can get away with playing it, you're laughing.
Yeah, a big difference between him and a guy like Matt Thomas.
Absolutely.
Matt Thomas, it was he has to hit his 1 or 2 threes, or
the guy's got to be shooting 50% from 3.
Yeah, whatever we tried with Joe Wieskamp. He is Joe Wieskamp is a good shooter. He can shoot. He's athletic.
Yeah.
But if he misses his first shot, it's just all of a sudden he's what's the point of him being on the floor?
Yeah, exactly. And they never under Nick Nurse, I get it. He was trying to win.
Yeah. He
never gave anybody any minutes and had that quick hook. And it was a lot of it was that the guys that they brought in weren't very good. Yeah. But another thing is that, as they said, he wasn't developing guys. And
he figured out ways to maximize what everybody was. He figured out to okay, so your best skill is this, so we're only going to have you do this.
Right.
And that's how we win. Okay, so you can't do this. We're just going to push transition. We're just going to whatever, which is exactly. It's good for short-term winning. But when you start losing elite players slowly, then you start to have more and more disappointing seasons.
And another thing is that if the pipeline is stalled, they were expecting the way that you add to the core when you've committed to a bunch of players Siakam and OG and Fred VanVleet is that you want to add via the draft. Yeah. And their one actual draft pick that they didn't trade away, which was Malachi Flynn, and he was just not an NBA player, unfortunately. It just
didn't work. Yeah. Exactly.
1 second. I think my camera's charged, so I'll just plug it in.
And so Brooklyn via Atlanta has taken Drake Powell, which is a pretty cool pick. That's pretty there was a lot of kind of how different is Drake Powell to VJ Edgecombe? I think obviously an inferior player, but when you talk about freak athleticism, Drake Powell is a freak athlete.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I missed what you just said.
What's it called? Brooklyn took Drake Powell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is good, athletic, plays defense, another swing on a guy.
Yeah, and as you get further back in the draft, there's way more movement. There's a lot of guys because the established pecking order breaks down, and then you have to deal with what teams need. And a lot of the time what teams need is something different than what maybe the guy who's mocked at that certain position is, because they're trying to find players that are going to fit into their system. And they're not necessarily thinking about, how do we value optimize here? Yeah. So you're going to see guys who maybe are mocked in the second round, or maybe see guys who are, when we saw Kasparas Yakichonis fall all the way down, there's a floor on how far he can fall, because he was at one point considered a top 5 talent. The teams aren't going to let them go all the way down. But if Jace Richardson, I still think that he could be good. And I liked him so much when I was scouting him that I think that even though he's fallen really far, I think that I still like him quite a bit. And if the Raptors could snag him, I'd be pretty happy. Maybe if they pick up a pick later on in the draft here.
Yeah, I would love if they could get into the end of the first round here. But I feel like they won't. I feel like they're just comfortable sitting in the second, and because non-guaranteed contracts and that kind of thing, I think they're just totally happy to do that.
They've hit on their second rounders. I've liked most of their second round picks, and even undrafted. We were just sort of hyping that up. Yeah,
last draft was pretty crazy because they go in with just one pick. I don't even think they had a second. They go in with one pick and they just make all these trades, boom, 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 and they end up walking away with drafting 4. And signing 2 extras.
Yeah, they came away. Yeah, they got one of the picks that they used to get. Oh gosh.
Yeah, because they went in.
Well, they traded the other brother of Jaden McDaniels. And they got
for Davion for the shed pick, and then a future one, which is our second round pick this year.
Yeah, that
because
was
our second round pick this year is like Detroit has it or something.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. That went in a different trade, but yeah, they I think they were going in with just the whatever 19 and 31, and they walked away with 45 and 57 as well, or 44, whatever that was, for Shed and Chomsky, and then they signed Battle, and they signed now NBA champion Brandon Carlson.
I know. The one that got away. I am so kind of.
I like them, and when they
remember when he got the game-saving block.
Yeah.
And got swarmed, and then they let him go the game afterwards. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
that
why?
decision didn't make sense, and they were still keeping
Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno, who had a contract waiting for him overseas, and I was like, but you know, they do all these little contract fiddly stuff, like they're always trying to.
Yeah, I think that he was just he could shoot a little bit. His defense was pretty good. He was a decent rebounder, and he seemed like. Yeah, I mean, he's 25,
you know, like we're nitpicking about a guy who's realistically not going to even be on the bench unit. But for what the season was last year, you're looking at it and you're like, why would we not keep this guy around?
Even give him a chance. And Bruno Fernando, the guy has been around the NBA. We knew who he was. Like the guy, he's not a good defender. He was good at rebounding and occasionally dunking, and he did have some sick dunks, but like, anyway, that's not that. But I want to talk a little bit more about Collin Murray-Boyles, because Collin Murray-Boyles, Toronto Raptors pick, I feel like there's a lot of, I think it'll be interesting how they use him and how they fit him into lineups. Yeah. And I am curious, like, what do you think his role on the team is going to be next season? And how many minutes per game do you think he's going to play?
I think that he'll probably, like, again, I think he's going to eat into the minutes of somebody like Mobo. I think he'll come off the bench because he's still a top 10 pick. And they played Jacoby, I think they probably played him up to like 16, 17 minutes a game or something like that, but that was in a tanking season. So I think he'll probably play 12, 15 minutes a game and be probably the bench 4, bench 5.
Yeah. I would think he's going to be the bench 5. They're going to play him in a small ball lineup. And I think he's going to play. I think they're going to play him a lot because I think he knows how to play and he can play right away. I think
he'll probably earn it too. Yeah.
I think he's going to play 20 minutes a game. And I think he's going to average like 9 points, 5 rebounds on like 60% shooting percentage.
I could definitely see that.
So I think he is going to be a big surprise for a lot of people when they finally get to watch him. Kind of like how Scotty Barnes was like, everybody hated the pick right away. Yeah. And then they watched him play and they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
I think it was his 3rd game or 4th, whatever it was, against Boston, where he just had a huge game and it was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that was so exciting. Okay, Asa Newell. He has gone to, let's see here.
That would be...
Yeah, this is the 20...
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right? That is New Orleans to Atlanta.
Yeah. So the 23rd pick. Yeah. New Orleans. And then that was the one that was traded. God, I hate these, like how convoluted it is.
And I don't think they really present it in the right way.
No.
Okay, so they get themselves a pick. I mean, for where it is, it's decent.
Yeah.
I'm still not that high on Asa Newell. I think he's just fine. Like, I think he'll be an NBA player. Yeah. I just think that there's nothing necessarily too exciting about him.
No, there's no like standout skill. Yeah. He's big. Yeah. He can move his body around. Yeah. He can score. And then that's basically it.
Now, Atlanta's actually a place I really like him for because Trae Young is going to get him a ton of points.
Right. That's the thing.
Just having him kind of stick around in the dunker spot and finish. He can catch lobs.
He's a live body. He's also tall, so you can play him next to Okongwu. Yeah. There's going to be some spacing issues if they have that. I don't expect him to play a ton of minutes, but you know, they're going to be. They needed kind of a big. They've got all those wings, and they also have Trae Young at the guard spot, so you can't make too much. You can't have too many guards. So I think that's pretty good. I think that's a good value pick for them.
Yeah,
I think
it's a good spot for him, and
and we'll see how he develops because he's like kind of a wild card, like because as you mentioned, he doesn't like. If he learns to shoot, he could be really good.
Yeah,
and that is kind of the limiting factor for him right now is that he doesn't really have post moves. he doesn't really have a go-to, like he doesn't have a drop step, he doesn't have a hook, he doesn't have these things that you would expect from a big that isn't an elite defender. Because when you are a big, you've got to bring kind of something to the table. He's not a great rebounder. He can score, but it's mostly just kind of opportunistic scoring.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see, as you mentioned, like if you're talking about a guy like that, you're absolutely correct that if that's the case, you got to put him next to a table setter, and there's nobody better really at that than Trae Young. So we'll see.
How many minutes will he get with Trae Young?
That's the question. Yeah.
See, like it's sad because I was pretty high on him at the draft, but Kobe Buffkin he's had injuries. He hasn't really worked out. He's
barely played.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, their actual backup point guard situation, I don't even know. But again, they played Trae Young like 35, 36 minutes a game anyway. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many minutes he gets with that. And
I'm interested. Rasheer Fleming is still out there. Danny Wolf is still out there. Jace Richardson still out there. Behringer, he wasn't drafted yet, was he?
He was.
He was?
Yeah. I can't remember who took him though.
Okay. Well, if he's off the board, then he's off the board. But there's a couple of names out there that I kind of liked.
Neat Clifford kind of.
Yeah, Neat Clifford. Yeah, he fell
well
quite a
there
bit too.
I think if he doesn't end up, if OKC doesn't pick Neat Clifford, I think Orlando will. Yeah. Because again, he's just a guy who is good and ready to propose trade to Kings. Is that new? A little thing popped up saying propose trade to Kings.
Yeah, let me see if Shams says
Kings are trading for the number 24 pick and taking Neat Clifford.
Okay.
So the Kings took Neat Clifford.
Huh.
Okay. I mean, in all honesty, I don't know what the Kings are doing for most part of whatever they're doing.
The Kings look like they're entering a rebuild. So they're purchasing a pick in this draft to, get a guy who they can develop. Which
it's
Neat Clifford
is a guy that is ready to play. He's a great player.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what they're doing. That's true.
I can never explain what the Kings are doing. Like they make all these moves to reassemble the play-in Bulls, and then you see reports where they're looking to trade DeMar DeRozan. It's like, why did you get DeMar in the first place and then get rid of Fox?
Well, it didn't make any sense because when you have a center who can't protect the rim, you have to do what Denver did, which is you have to go and get a bunch of guys who can defend the perimeter because you can't allow penetration. Yeah. As soon as you allow penetration, it's a layup line. Yeah. And Sabonis has that issue. And instead of going and getting guys who can do that, help him protect the basket, stop penetration, they went out and got a bunch of guys who don't play any defense, and it just didn't work. Like, everyone knew that wasn't going to work. Everyone.
And from talking to Kings fans, because Keegan Murray had a down season.
Right.
And he was a guy who, he's had some high highs where he scores 45 points, whatever. And I was talking to people, and I was like, because I had made the bold thing where I was like, okay, so everybody wanted to trade Pascal Siakam for Keegan Murray, and that would have been a win if you traded Pascal for Keegan Murray, and it didn't happen. Instead, the way the trade worked out, you ended up with Ochai Agbaji, who just had a better season than Keegan Murray. Is that considered a win or no? Because he statistically had a better season all across the board, and that was just kind of
did he really?
He did across the board. And but I asked Kings fans because they were like they didn't like that take, obviously, and I was like, well, why is he having a down season? They're like, because he's stuck defending the entire time. Yeah. The best player, and he never gets any offensive looks anymore, and he's just spending all his energy defending. And that's, again, the problem you talked about. They didn't give any other wings that can defend. No. They gave them Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Zach
LaVine is a sieve. DeMar DeRozan just doesn't play defense. Yeah. He was never a good defender, and now he's old.
He's just a bucket getter. Yeah. He's an old bucket getter, yeah.
And they have a fake center. They have like a meme center. Yeah. And elbows. Yeah, oh my God. They let him play. He's plays like a hockey player. Yeah. He seems like a good guy, so I'm not going to smack talk him too much, but I hate the way he plays, and I
would not want to have to watch your team play a series against him, right?
I mean, Draymond stomped him, and I definitely, that's taking it a bit too far, but God, I hate the way he plays. But the Kings, it looks like they're finally going to move on from that core. I mean, they pretty much had to when the whole De'Aaron Fox thing went down.
they're not really getting much value out of any of it, you know?
No, that's the thing, is that they made these trades to assemble something that could make a push. And that's the problem with win now moves, is that eventually if you don't cash in or you don't succeed, you end up getting pennies on the dollar for which is why like there's a lot of people who are angling to try and speed up the Toronto Raptors rebuild. And I get it. I want them to make noise next season, but going out and getting an expensive veteran, that is committal. You are making a choice to contend now.
Yeah.
And if you don't hit and you don't succeed, you spent money on, you spent assets on something that is not going to return you value.
Yeah.
So
it'll just be too soon. Yeah.
You got to make sure that the power surge comes at the right time. You have to make sure that everything lines up so that you are reaching your ultimate power spike at the correct time.
Which is why I really liked what the Magic did with pushing all their chips in.
Exactly.
4 first-round picks seems a lot, but it was for the guy that they wanted. They forced a trade that Memphis probably wasn't looking to do because there was just too much to pass up.
Yeah.
And they are a team that could end up top 4 in this next season.
Exactly.
And top 3.
They fixed their biggest need, which was shooting. They went out and got a star player. He's never made an all-star team, but it's also in the West. Like
exactly. It's quite competitive, and you've got a big a fancy player on your team that kind of takes a lot of the spotlight, right?
Yeah.
For this pick for Orlando, I think an interesting choice is somebody like Maxime Reynaud.
Okay. You're going to have to tell me a little bit about him because I haven't scouted him.
He's a big who has, like, he can shoot.
Okay, went to Stanford. Interesting.
Yeah, so he scored like, he was like averaging like 20 and 10. Like he can score, he can shoot, can dribble, pass, shoot. Like he can play with the ball, everything. Apparently he's like best friends with Wemby. People thought he was going to go top 14 because of that.
Okay.
But I see him like he could be a guy that could replace your Wendell Carter Jr. minutes, and like he's not the best defender, but like Jace Richardson, okay, they got their Cole Anthony replacement. Yeah,
exactly. And the thing is that like they've got some like minutes eaters at center. They need like Goga, and they've got they've Wendell Carter Jr. People thought he was going to be a big deal. He's been a kind of
Yeah.
They definitely could use a C. And I could see like, Reynaud, as you were saying, stretch 5. He actually is center sized 7'1".
Yeah, he's huge, but he moves well. But so they went with Jace.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is like, that's great. But I thought Anthony Black was kind of positioning for their backup guard role.
I'm not a huge Anthony Black fan, but and Jace can shoot.
Kind of build, right? It's just not exactly. He's like kind of a wing who plays guard. You know, it's weird.
The big guard guy. And so, Jace Richardson, I mean, the analytics said
his dad played for the Magic, didn't he?
Jason Richardson?
Yeah.
He played for the Warriors. He played for the Suns. He played for... Yeah, he might have played for the Magic. Let me see. I love Jason Richardson. That guy was awesome. He also
played for Magic for 2 years.
Okay, there you go. Wow, good memory then. I loved
early in his career, so that's fun.
The dunks were sick. The shooting, he was like a star kind of ish guard, but he never made an all-star team, which is pretty impressive. You know, there were some well, I don't want to swear, but there were some bad players who made all-stars back then. I don't know is he still with the team, Big Cat? I don't think so. He made an all-star team.
He made an all-star game. There are definitely some crazy all-stars from that.
I mean, like, even there were guys who, like, I think Jason Richardson was like way better than, like, Steve Francis. That guy was if it was like, if analytics were around at the time he was playing, nobody would think that he was like a star player.
True. Yeah.
Which is funny because there were a lot of guys around that time that had the rap of a star, even though they were like really inefficient. And a lot of the reason that like it's called the dead ball era, like when it was just like constant just ISOs, one-on-ones, like every time down the floor. Cause like there were for whatever reason, the offenses were like Stone Age. And so one-on-one skill was like the most important thing, even if it was so inefficient. So you had guys like Steve Francis just like trying to cook one-on-one every time down the floor. It was horrible. Anybody who watches the NBA now and complains about the product, go watch those games from the early 2000s. it is like a different sport, and the sport basketball these days is so much better. People don't know how
more dynamic. Yeah, exactly.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
My God, people are pining for days. It's like the meme where the dog is begging for the boiling water on the stove. It's like he doesn't know what he wants.
Exactly.
Like that is what.
Yeah, and it's funny. You get these guys like Gilbert Arenas who's talking so much now, where it's like you realize that if you played now, a coach would sit you.
Yeah.
Because he'd be like, what do you mean you just took 20 dribbles and put up a shot? Like, okay, cool, you hit it, great, but we could have taken 3 threes by now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the analytics has changed all of that, and the escalating of the amount of possessions. And
I don't want to hate too much on players that played in a different era, because obviously things were different, and it's easy to watch. But like, one thing I do want to say is that like Gilbert Arenas, the problem with him is that he's just wrong all the time. That is his issue, is that he is just consistently wrong over and over and over and over and over again. Like just this past playoffs when he was talking about Pascal Siakam and like hating on him or whatever. Yeah. And they went to the finals and he had to wear a Siakam jersey and he played it off like he was joking or something. It's like, bro, quit while you're behind.
Exactly. Yeah, but he did have that really one funny viral thing where he the Tyrese Halliburton game winner shot. He in the time when it bounced, he quickly pulled on a Halliburton jersey and celebrated as if he was cheering for the Pacers the whole time. It was hilarious. It was like in the millisecond, like, oh yeah, I'm cheering. Oh, never mind.
That's I'll give it to him there, but like the problem with sports nowadays is not necessarily the sports. If you catch my drift,
it's how it's presented. There's people who seem to hate the league and hate the sports.
ESPN, like, it's old hat at this point to hate on that desk, but it sucks. Like, I've never seen in any sport a desk that is so bad at analyzing the game than the ESPN panel. It's so bad. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't even know what they should be talking about. Yeah. They don't even know.
They try to steer it to like a marquee market, like, oh, what's the impact of this on? It's like,
go ahead. Sorry.
It just like, and I think a lot of people are gonna miss the TNT guys and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, but they have gone through parts and kind of more at the end where they're just spending way too much time hating on the product and not as much as they were like making fun of it in the right way. I think mainly guys like Shaq and stuff, because Shaq just keeps coming up with these weird takes where he's like trying to tear down every center that is any claim that could be better than them. And it's like, you just gotta stop, man.
He doesn't, he has zero shame when it comes to that kind of thing. He will go after anyone if he feels threatened.
Yeah.
He only started going after Jokic recently because Jokic, like, I think also because he's international, I think that he feels like there's enough separation, like he's a distinct player. I don't think he feels like he's like it's apples to apples. Like I feel like he thinks maybe there's an apples and oranges kind of situation going on there. But he started to maybe hate a little bit on Jokic as the playoffs went on. Yeah. So, okay. Brooklyn.
Again, they're just picking. No
trades. Yeah. This has been, where's the slop?
I know.
Where the hell is the slop? Ben Seraph. Yeah. Okay. So Ratio Farm Ulm. I pronounced it because I did a scouting video on his teammate, Noah Essengay. Yeah. And they played together. I think they're playing Kevin O'Connor ripped Noah Essengay. Has he been drafted yet?
Yeah.
Oh, who drafted him? I forget.
15th or 12th or something like that at this point. But it's funny because of Kevin O'Connor's history with Ratio Farm Ulm. That's where Killian Hayes played.
Right.
So I feel like whenever he sees those orange jerseys, he just gets PTSD flashbacks and just starts thinking, oh my gosh, I can't put this guy high. And yeah, he was very unfair to SNG. Well, bad teammate, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
God,
that's how people were like, you don't know how European basketball is. They were okay with it. He wasn't getting minutes anyway. They said, go live your dream and have the best, like the best moment of your career.
I feel, Kevin O'Connor, Listen, some of his takes are okay. I'm not going to drag him too much for like his basketball analysis, but anything outside of basketball,
he's got some crazy follows.
Oh, he loves Elon. And what was someone dug up a tweet? Kevin O'Connor. He's like, oh man, who's the coolest celebrity couple? And he was like, he kept saying Grimes and Elon.
Wild. That's wild.
Listen, even owning a Tesla, you don't have to love the person who makes your car. Even if he never did any of the stuff he did with Doge or the very suspicious arm movements, you don't have, like, even if he was like donating to Bernie Sanders and being like the ultimate, like completely agreed with you on a political basis, you don't have to love them. You don't have to care about who they are. You don't have to care about the person who makes your car. Just putting that out there.
But he really likes him. He's a part of that cult.
That's just a bizarre thought. Like, when you are a fan of a basketball team or you're a fan of a basketball player, they're doing something cool. You get to watch them do something cool. What is Elon bringing to the table other than those horrible interviews?
Somebody snapped back at me on something and they said, he's the smartest man in the world, something. And I was like, all right, man. And he was like, you're not sending rockets into space. And I was like, neither is he. His engineers are.
Yeah, he's an investor.
Yeah. But a lot of people just think that he's like the brilliant inventor.
He's got great PR. And I mean, he had the whole thing. Like, I get, my mom likes Elon. I'll just say that. And Mom, if you're watching, I love you. One of the things about him is that if it was 6 or 7 years ago, and you didn't know, like you didn't follow his Twitter feed where he's posting all this insane garbage, I would forgive you for thinking that he's like this brilliant person. The date is 2025. You can read his feed.
It's very easy to find.
It's very easy to understand what he is about and his thoughts on things. And you can hear what he sounds like. Yeah, he talks a lot. What is the appeal?
That's why I think there's so many other people that could be your favorite person and could be cool. Okay, so Brooklyn's pick is in. Okay. They keep showing Danny Wolf and how sad he is that he's apparently slid. So maybe they're suggesting he's going to get picked now.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Danny Wolf.
Okay, there you go.
So they picked Ben Seraph and Danny Wolf.
There you go.
The Israeli players.
The Israeli guys.
It's like they were just projecting that was going to happen. They were like, look at how sad he is. And someone pick him.
Yeah, there you go.
That's cool, though. They've picked up a lot of good players. Like, a lot of interesting swings, I'd say.
Yeah, but I don't think Danny Wolf, is actually Israeli. I think he's American, and he...
Yeah, but it keeps coming up on the
timeline.
The list.
He played for the team. He played for the Israeli under 17 team or something like that, and they did.
But you can do that when you've got a parent kind of thing, like how Scotty's going to play for Jamaica.
Yeah, exactly.
His dad.
So, but I think Ben Seraph is actually Israeli. So
yeah. So they took Danny Wolf, Ben Seraph, Nolan Traore, Demon.
Fears, right?
No, they got Yegor Demon.
Oh, Demon, right? Jeez, the Pelicans got Fears.
Yeah, so they picked a Russian guy, a French guy.
They're building the United Nations.
International.
That's crazy.
That's cool.
That's interesting because I think they've got a good management team that I think got screwed over by how fickle the stars that they brought in were. But like being able to squeeze the value that they got out of Bridges. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that they probably got, I mean, Danny Wolf was projected to go a lot higher. I'm surprised that he fell this far, but I think that the person that's fallen I was open to drafting Rasheer Fleming. I mean, this was earlier on.
No, same. Yeah. I
was open to drafting him because I saw him as a really strong role player.
Yeah.
3AD.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it's getting kind of late here. 11:20.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was open to drafting him, But obviously, things change pretty quickly. And it seems as though he is going to either be drafted very late or fall into the second round.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, maybe the Raptors get lucky.
That would be awesome.
I mean,
Boston there's still a lot of great players on the table for Boston.
Yeah.
They could just take Fleming.
There's Liam McNeely if they want to do the Boston thing.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, the very funny cliche about them drafting white guys.
Yeah.
But they have found some decent hits in the late first round.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of white guys.
I think, and the guy they took last year, Baylor Shireman, I think this season he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, because they're moving in the rebuild direction.
Guys a lot exactly, and I think someone like Baylor Shireman's actually he's a bit older. He's actually a really good player. He did really well in the G League, and I think he'll be one of those guys that's he's a decent role player.
Yeah,
he's got.
I think
for his size, he's got a surprising amount of sauce. He's
he's. Oh, who's this? Oh, that's Danny Wolf?
That's Danny Wolf. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
His mother is very excited. That's gotta be. Okay, so pick is in for Boston.
Who is that? His brother?
I think it's dad.
No, there's the guy who's crying. The guy who's crying. I think that's
his brother. The guy with dark hair.
Jeez, he's distraught.
Yeah,
that's
what they're showing
crazy.
Right before the pick too. They were like,
bawling his eyes out.
But the way that it's happened before, where they invite these guys to the green room, and he's very proud. And they start to slide, right? And they start to feel more and more embarrassed, being like, I'm sitting here in the green room, I got my suit on, everything. Like, what was it? Was it Bull that they...
Oh, there have been a bunch of players that have fallen out of the first round even after being invited. Hugo Gonzalez.
That's a pick I didn't expect them to make. I like Hugo.
Yeah?
A lot.
Hugo Gonzalez?
He's a very interesting player, and he was playing on a very talented team where he was continuously earning more and more minutes.
Real
and more
Madrid
time.
is one of the top international clubs.
Exactly. So when people are looking at, he was not playing that much. Like, okay, well, look at the team he's playing on.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Boston went there, but...
Well, technically he is a white guy at the end of the first round, so...
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. Boston moves so quickly when it's time to change stuff.
Right. That's the thing, is that they don't wait until, the pennies on the dollar. They're trading for full value.
Yeah.
And they identified a time, you have to be flexible. That's the thing about the NBA, is that you can't waste an opportunity to fix a problem. And the problem was that they had all these big contracts, and they had a team that was not going to be as competitive. They weren't going to contend. And I think with that fan base, and I think with that management team, they are interested in championships or bust. They're not thinking about, we got to make the second round.
Yeah.
They don't give a crap about that. They care about championships. And the way that you do that is by selling when you can, selling off of these large contracts for a good return, and maybe bottoming out. Or maybe they might do a competitive rebuild. I'm not exactly sure what they're thinking, because I don't think you want to strip it down to the bone. Just because when Jason Tatum gets back, he can't be with a skeleton crew. He's got to have some guys he can play with.
Yeah. And if you think about how Golden State did it when Clay was injured and they stripped it right down and ended up with the second pick, and they of course blew the pick. Yeah. But they were still able to get back and win a championship just a few years later.
That was that was on the back of of course the picks didn't do anything really. Yeah. I mean,
they Kuminga has so many picks. Could you imagine this team with maybe not LaMelo, but Franz Wagner?
Yeah,
if they took him instead of Kuminga?
That would have been. They would have been
took Trey Murphy instead of not that Moses Moody's bad or anything, but
it's not even a comparison between the two of them. Totally
their new era
players.
could be off to an amazing start.
I think there's also with the two timelines. First of all, James Wiseman, I don't think he would ever on any team be. No. He was kind of a mystery box player. He didn't even play in college that year. Yeah, but a lot of the thing you have to consider is that their players were, this is why I never really understood the two timeline thing, was because you get these guys and then you don't give them minutes.
Yeah.
And it's very tough to prognosticate and say like, well, should have taken this guy, should have taken that guy. Like if you give Kuminga an open runway and just the ability to play through all of his mistakes, is he going to be the same player as he is today? I don't know. Moses
leash.
I know. Moses Moody as well. Like, of course he looks like a fine role player. He looks like he's going to be okay, but
that's all they ever let him be.
If he doesn't get an opportunity, is he going to be the same player?
Yeah.
So the 2 timeline thing really hamstrung both sides. Like it didn't work. And
because a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, they could have taken LaMelo instead of it. I'm like, what you would have got out of LaMelo is what you got out of Jordan Poole, essentially. Yeah. Right? You would have had, who is flashy, who is effective.
Yeah.
And it worked out for them well with Jordan Poole, but he was like a 27th pick or something. Like he was a much later pick who was a lot better for their books. Obviously, it ultimately didn't work out, but I don't think that LaMelo is the person that they should be upset at missing.
I think so too. I think that this is. I think LaMelo would have been a lot better than obviously James Wiseman, and they probably would be a much different team than they are right now. But I just think that it was completely mismanaged by their front office. I think that they should have taken some of that draft capital and used it to find complementary players.
They really could have,
And they really could have just fixed that. And then you go through a cycle where you're not as good anymore. Instead of aging out and trying to find places for these disparate parts to work in, it just does not really fit here. So there's only 2 picks left. And then we'll sign off because this is a very long podcast. So you guys are going to
get how long it's taken.
I know. This is crazy. It's almost 12 o'clock. So this is very long. Hopefully I don't run out of disk space.
Now, so this was traded to Charlotte. Okay. If Charlotte gets Rasheer Fleming here,
that'd be a win. That'd be a win for them. And they need a guy who can finish plays.
They traded their big, right?
Right. They traded all of their bigs. And
so they need a big.
Yeah.
So I could see them. I don't think Maxime Reynaud is the guy for that. He's not that. Like he's not going to anchor your defense. Not going to anchor your defense. So interesting.
Rasheer Fleming
is the value at a 29th pick.
Rasheer Fleming is like I could see a situation where you could play him at center, and I don't think that it would be too crazy. Like his steal, block numbers, rim protection stuff is all fine. But I think
he's 6'10" or something.
Yeah, he's 6'10", and I think that he's athletic enough. He's got long arms. I don't think it'd be crazy playing him at center on a rebuilding team. He could give it a shot.
Liam McNeely.
Oh, there you go. Liam McNeely. So, that was another guy that fell quite a bit because he had that crap season in a lot of people thought that he was going to be the guy at UConn, and he just never
pretty much asked him to do too much, actually.
Yeah.
Like it was interesting. He was actually became miscast. He just wasn't really up to it almost. Yeah. So did they pick Con as well?
Oh, good question. Who is this for? This is for the Hornets.
Charlotte.
Yeah, they do have Con. Yeah,
so
that's exactly.
Con and Liam McNeely.
So yeah, I mean, Duke and UConn. Shooting. Yeah, they've got some shooting. They obviously have. It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
Take guys who can shoot, put them next to guys who are scorers. That makes complete sense. They're not going to be good defensively, but
I think they have to try to
they got to find an identity.
Yeah, Grant Williams is coming back from injury. I don't know what they're doing with him.
It almost doesn't matter.
Right? Like, they're not contending anytime soon. I don't really know what they're... Yeah.
And they traded away their center. I mean, it's kind of weird that you trade away your center and you don't have one in the pipeline. Both centers.
Maybe they're just trying to angle for...
maybe they're going to make a...
Cambuza or something in next draft. They're just like, I tank it again.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll make a trade.
Maybe they'll make a trade. That's a possibility. Maybe they'll try and get somebody in free agency. Are they under the cap? They've got to be, right? Especially when Mark Williams is gone. What did they get back for him? Do you know?
Not sure. Well, I can find it one second. Charlotte got Vasily Micic, who I thought they already had.
Micic?
Okay. Yeah, they got him.
He can't be making too much money.
8.1 team option will get exercised by fee. Micic was traded to Phoenix as part of the Nurkic trade.
Okay, so...
Oh, yeah, so Charlotte has Nurkic, don't they?
Yeah. It's almost like he doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're up to. Like, you would think that this is the season where you try and make a step forward, try and make a team that makes sense around LaMelo so that you can actually do something. It just doesn't seem like they really have a plan.
No,
like, I get what they're doing with these picks. I think Liam McNeely's a pretty good pick for them at this range. Like, he's a role player. Like, it looks like he's going to be a role player. People thought that he had a little bit more upside than I think he showed this year. And now it just seems like he's going to, slot into that spot, be a shooter, and stretch the floor for 2 star players. So that makes complete sense. But the problem is the defense. They're not going to have anybody. If you don't have a center, you're not going to be good at defense.
Yeah.
It's just period.
Yeah.
And if you can't play defense, if you're going to be getting your ass kicked on the boards, you're going to suck.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what they're up to.
No. So what's interesting is that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers went with Rasheer Fleming or maybe even Ryan Kalkbrenner. They have bigs.
Yeah. I mean, they have a really Zubats.
Yeah, Zubats is insane, but
he's really good. But they don't. Yeah, the pipeline, the cupboard is kind of bare at the backup 5 spot, and they're all old. Everybody's old. So
they're a pretty old team, and a lot of the money is committed to a few guys.
But you're thinking, like, I get what you're saying. Kalkbrenner would be a good pick for them, just because, like, they probably want a guy who can play right away.
Yeah. And
even though they're old, that means that you're looking for guys who are going to earn minutes.
Yeah.
And even if they are like you would think that you'd want to start over. You'd think that you want to have a guy, like, young players with lots of upside. But I feel like that's after you get to the rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get to the full rebuild, then you do that.
As long as you still have Kawhi, and as long as you still have these guys, you're trying to squeeze 1, maybe 2 more years out of them. I don't think you're going to ultimately get. I feel like they're just going to even retire there. I don't think you're going to get any value back for them. So yeah, you just try to.
And they were way better. Right away. I liked them this year. I thought that they were way better. Like, that series against Denver was an all-timer. That was like one of the best first-round series I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, it was awesome. It was very fun.
And they were able to, they just lost to them. So why not give it another shot? I think that they were an impressive team, and they've got a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
They just need Kalkbrenner. Sounds like a good pick. He's kind of a really meat and potatoes big.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't go Renaud here. I wouldn't go
Boglajub, Markovic.
Yeah. They could go Kobe Barrett and get one of the best shooters in the draft.
Yep.
Have him come off the bench.
Yep.
Not bad. The guys that are remaining, pretty good looking pretty nice for the second round.
What about Sion James?
I like him. I could see, it'd be like a slight reach, but not really.
He's a senior. He's older, like similar idea. Good shooter. Yeah. Potential role player on the wing, but a big, you're probably right that a big probably suits their needs a little bit more. Johnny Broome.
Yeah. He's one of the better players. Like, he's just a great player.
Yeah.
Don't care that he's not that athletic. He's got moves. He's got
he seems like a guy that, college, like what's his name? Tyler Hansborough kind of guy.
Yeah.
Dominating against, but like Tyler Hansborough did play in the NBA for a while and was, serviceable role player. So maybe what are you expecting at the end of the first round? We'll see. The pick is in, and this will be it. And then we'll do a quick wrap up. We'll talk about what the Raptors did, what it means, who they drafted,
and what they didn't do.
And
a lot of people expected a lot more movement.
Yeah, way more movement. This was kind of, I don't want to say ho-hum, but I expected more. I thought that they would trade back. I thought they'd do a lot of different stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with what they did.
Yeah.
Collin Murray-Boyles was kind of my guy. I've been singing his praises for a long time, so I am quite happy.
They went with Yannick Konan-Niederhauser, who I like.
Okay.
He was projected in the second round.
What a name! I want to hear
Jackson Hayes, but without being problematic.
Yeah, without being an abuser.
Yeah, he's athletic,
alleged,
run and dunk. Yeah,
that's cool.
I think it's a good pick. I think it's all right.
I need to hear Kendrick Perkins pronounce this guy's name.
Yeah.
If somebody can hook me up on Twitter, hit me up with a video capture of how Kendrick Perkins pronounces this guy's name. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of the first round. This is work in progress, as you can tell. I was the video cut out for me for a while there, but I think this went pretty well. I think we've got some synergy here. Yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think of the new format, what you think of Steve. Be complimentary. And
be very critical.
Be very critical. Pick him apart. Tell me how good I am, maybe in contrast with Steve. No, be nice. And just if you like this, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, do all of the stuff to let the algorithm know that this is content that Raptors fans need to see. And as always, thank you for tuning into Raptors Report. And hope you're very happy with Collin Murray-Boyles as I am. Take care.